What's up? Hold on. Welcome to The Objective.
Hello, everybody.
What's up, Snailman? This is The Objective, the Insurgency podcast. For those of you who are unfamiliar with The Objective, it's probably because this is only our fourth episode. Or maybe you're an Insurgency player and you have a severe aversion to playing The Objective.
Allergies, objective allergies, if you will.
I thought I'm looking at our Google Doc right now, and I thought someone was about to just delete that whole line because of how great it is. But with us today, special guest, not on the webcam, but you'll hear his beautiful voice. Kissesandsparkle. Have you ever heard of him? Probably. Kisses, how you doing?
Good. How are you, James?
Good. Let me make
For the
sure.
record, whoever came up with that objective joke is a genius.
Yeah. Well, it is a widespread pandemic, I think, in the community. I think people don't understand how important playing the objective is. Everyone thinks they do, but at the same time, they're never on it. They're like, yeah, play the effing objective, and everyone's saying that to each other, but no one ever is the one to go get on it. And maybe that's something we'll talk about here in a little bit, because I would love to figure out a way to make being the objective player like more glorifying and fun role. And we're gonna talk today. We're gonna get into talking a little bit about maps, map design, and what makes map fun. And I think a lot of that we'll talk about that. So how you guys doing? Snailman, how you doing?
Doing well. I'm not drunk yet. First night in a while we're streaming and I'm not drunk.
Well, yeah,
it's a little weird, but
we're pretty professional here at the Objective. Like we keep it clean. We keep it business casual, and maybe on our personal stream, Snailman, twitch.tv/Snailman if you want to follow Snailman, and then Kisses has a stream too, which is super underrated, and that's twitch.tv/Kissesandsparkle. Follow him.
Thanks, James. Check's in the mail.
Easy money. All right. So this is gonna
Dude,
be.
there's a blizzard here today, by the way.
There's
just
a
so
blizzard.
Yep.
You live
15 to 30 inches or something.
Oh,
8 to
man.
15 inches.
It's like 80 degrees in my
Whoa.
room.
yeah, it was like 70 degrees today.
I don't have my light on. I'm so unprofessional. Hold on. Someone fill time. I gotta turn my light on. I don't care. I got natural lighting here. I'll just open my blinds.
All right, well, aside from the weather, you don't need good weather to play video games as long as your internet cable is still attached to your house and sending data.
Very true.
So we're glad that that's still working.
Cool. So it's been a few weeks since we've done one of these, and as a result, we got to do a little housekeeping and catch up on what's been going on in the world of competitive insurgency. So the regular season has come to a close, and actually tomorrow I think we're gonna have a lot of important games in every region. We have the South American Grand Final, and
Absolutely.
boom, that's gonna be against Viaditos versus MDM. So I think I'm going to try to cast that. I've agreed to do a lot of things tomorrow, and that's one of them. Check that out. That's going to be, if anyone knows what time, post it in the Twitch chat. I think it's like at 8 PST.
Ooh.
But I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But we also have the North American playoffs starting up.
11 Eastern, James.
11 Eastern. Okay.
So
11 p.m.?
4 Pacific time.
Okay.
Oh, that's wonderful. I
That's
can
awesome.
absolutely do that too. So
We'll
we'll have some good casting for that for sure.
totally. We've got over here. I'm looking at the playoffs for North America coming up tomorrow. Starting out with Veritas versus FGC, 4-seed Veritas versus 5-seed FGC. That's going to be at 10 PST. So that is pretty sure 10 PST, unless it's 10 EST. Shoot. Hey, what's up, Torso? Long time no see, man. Welcome to the stream.
Wasn't something happening like in the early afternoon tomorrow?
Probably. So we actually don't have a good way. It'd be awesome if we had like after the match was scheduled, you could like see the time in the bracket or something. That'd be amazing for everybody to like follow it more closely. So something to think about.
EU has a match at 7 p.m. British summertime on Sunday.
Right. Okay. There's an EU match tomorrow. That's in the early afternoon.
Is that Tall Ballistic versus MDMA? I think so. Because I think Master was saying stuff about it. Right. He's on Tall Ballistic.
So I have something to do in the late afternoon, but I'm fairly certain that I can bring. We're going to try our best, absolutely, to give you shoutcasting every playoff game, because at this point they're all going to be pretty good games, and I want to see all of them. So I think I can do the afternoon one tomorrow, and then there's a couple in the evening, but that will be on either the DGL Twitch, like the official DGL Twitch, or if it's not there, I'm sure it will be hosted there.
Awesome. So Quaker's saying that it is possible to put scheduling info into the bracket, but I think only a couple people are able to edit it. So
yeah, I think at a certain point, some sort of custom system for scheduling and things is going to need to be implemented, because for various reasons, it's just not enough control to be had on Challenge, unfortunately.
So real quick, let's do a quick recap. Oh, that's actually cool. I don't have to open up all the playoffs. Just is a separate tab in Challenge. That's cool. Let's do a quick recap of what's happened in the DGL this season. I think we can all agree that the Swiss system overall was a really cool way and a really successful way to run it. I think overall, compared to the past when we did divisions, it led to a higher percentage of really good matches, and I think everyone across the board on average had a positive experience, which in the past, I don't know if we could say the same thing.
Yeah, that was absolutely one of the main goals for Swiss over divisions, was have teams at the bottom who would have been bottom Division 1, top Division 2 actually play each other. In the past, there was just always a team. It always felt like one or two or three teams even were split and just never had good matches to play. And honestly, everybody got to play games against the people either directly above them or directly below them in the final standings. So I think that's absolutely a big success.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems like it's not going to matter for the top of the top necessarily. It's not going to matter for the bottom of the bottom necessarily if there's a big enough skill gap. But I think one of the big challenges with the division system was always you're drawing an arbitrary line in the middle, and there's no guarantee that that line makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So the Swiss system kind of allowed you to have some flexibility or have some overlap, right?
Absolutely, and I'm amazed and really proud of everybody in the entire league that there weren't there was a few scheduling things, but nobody ever just didn't show up. Teams actually took it upon themselves to schedule their matches for the most part, and they got them done, which I was worried about, because in the past with divisions, we've had teams, S3 and some other teams, that maybe just didn't, schedule their matches, and they would just be 4 or 5 games behind by the end of the season and just have to play them all at once. And that was really annoying.
Do you guys feel like, I guess one thing that I feel like from the perspective of a Swiss system that maybe you wouldn't run into with a division sort of round robin system is you have opportunity for controversy, specifically when you cut to the playoffs. I don't necessarily feel like we ended up in a place where we will have that, at least in North America. I'm looking in Europe. It looks pretty cut and dry there. But if we had cut to 4 teams in North America like we initially planned to, do you guys feel like that could have caused some issues, or at least some discussion?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's 2 ways of thinking about it, and I think you can think about the league being set up to find the rankings of the players and try to rank everyone in the most efficient way, or just to like find the best team. And then I think that's not necessarily going to go hand in hand with just like having people play a lot of high quality matches like across the board. So I think skipping to playoffs and cutting out teams, I think it's better. I mean, unless some people are saying that like the teams that are at the bottom of the rankings are, just burned out, but I don't know. I'd kind of think that we should just play more. So we're thinking about changing it up maybe next season.
I guess my specific question is, if we cut to top 4 and Veritas made the playoffs and VEA didn't, would that have been a source of controversy?
Well, sort of. I mean, they played. Or did they not play? I guess they didn't play.
They didn't play.
So it absolutely would have been. And part of that is VEA's fault. And part of, so this particular Swiss system, there was one major flaw, and it was the last week pairings. One of the 2 rules of Swiss pairings is that no team can play another team twice. And what ended up happening was the teams towards the bottom of the standings had all played each other, and there was several double and like triple pair ups where the bye went to a team that was 2 and 3, and the 1 and 4 team played somebody who was 3 and 2. Like teams got paired in a way that you might not actually like to see happen because of one of the 2 rules. And so in the future, if we ever do Swiss again, which I think probably it's pretty likely, if you eliminate that rule of teams can't play twice,
or reset it every once in a while.
Yeah, specifically any team that's eliminated from playoffs mathematically can't play. Like, you take that rule out and they just have them rematch, then we would have seen what actually should have happened. Veritas would have played a much harder opponent, and FGC as well, and it would have meant that the strength of schedule between Veritas and VEA was far closer. The issue for VEA was that they did play a hard opponent in the final week, and consequently their strength of schedule was way harder than Veritas. So it would have absolutely been a controversy. But if we had, done it slightly different way and the strength of schedules were similar, then like not everyone's going to make playoffs. Making playoffs is a big accomplishment, and winning the season, I don't think that it necessarily is designed to find the best team. It's just designed to find a very good set of teams, and somebody is the best in someday. Like, the same team doesn't always win every tournament, and there's upsets constantly. It's a fluid concept, the best team, and as long as you're doing a fairly good job, I think you're winning. And whether or not VEA or Veritas one of the 2 didn't make the playoffs, I think we still would have had a very high quality number of teams that were in the playoffs, and we would have had a good playoff, even with 4 teams. So that's sort of how I feel about it.
For sure. There's no perfect system, but we're going to try to find it anyway.
We're just going to make it better and better and better.
Yeah. So anyways, we got a finals tomorrow. So check out Twitch. Just a lot of stuff going on. And check out DGL Discord for links to streams and stuff.
Absolutely.
Last minute.
Here's my other what if question for you guys.
Okay.
What if TAW wasn't so generous? What would have happened if TAW had 1 team instead of 4?
Oh, in Europe?
Yeah.
Well, the European season would have, the landscape would have been vastly different.
Also,
tiny.
TAW teams, European TAW teams are showing up.
Yeah, that's what they finished 3 through 5, and then 8th of 10, and they split their players evenly across the teams, right? So
pretty
that
impressive.
would lead me to believe that they would have finished at least 2nd.
Yeah.
Given they didn't do that, right?
Yeah, I've been talking to Mosser a lot, and he's got like a fresh squad. He's doing like the EU Snail squad and done pretty well. Like they beat MDMA, and that's pretty impressive.
Absolutely.
Oh, Rebel Washington, thanks for the sub. Welcome to the Objective and JeMs Army. All right, let's kick it into the next segment where let's talk to Kisses here. You're a special guest. So Kisses is our head producer and content creator, our writer.
I think you're the producer.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know much about titles, but you're the writer. You're the head writer. Kisses thinks of a lot of good ideas, and if we have our own idea, he puts an amazing, clever segment title on it, and it's been great.
Yeah, honestly, we need to hire more free Kisses like people.
This is a total community, insurgency community effort. Like today, Stuff Shark sent us a bunch of clips and ordered them for our clip of the week this week. That was awesome. I was like, man, we should hire him. So if you guys want to help, like we definitely have
jobs. They don't pay very well though.
We don't pay very well, but like it's just like the whole goal of this show is to just sort of, show the depth of this game and appreciation and how great it is, and try to just make stuff for it because it's really good and underrated.
I think the biggest limiting factor in how often we can do this is just collecting the content, the clips, and the various things for the different clips of the week and that type of stuff. It eats up a lot of time. So I think
and we're lazy.
We're lazy.
Yeah. Also, we could just coming up with good ideas that people actually care to hear about. Right?
Yeah, I think.
I don't think anyone wants me to rant about why you shouldn't play Aeon Station any more than they need to hear it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to like. Today I asked Jolly, my buddy Jolly Bear, who has been coming up hard on the FGC roster. His first competitive Insurgency experience was during New Bloods this year, and then Torix was like impressed by him and Reason in that, and actually Reason came even later, but both of them have just been like up and comers, and I was like, what would you like to hear about? Because it's like hard for us as like players who've played for a long time to like know what like the biggest challenges are at like different parts of the learning curve. And so Jolly was just kind of talking about how him and he feels like he and Reason are like kind of hitting a wall on their learning curve. Like they're progressing really fast, and now they're kind of getting to like the higher level and having trouble breaking through to like really be like a top player. And he thinks maybe it has to do with just like not knowing when and where and how to rotate for him as like a more support player type play style, and Reason as like a really aggressive flanker, perhaps not knowing what to do when like just pure aggression isn't working, or maybe when to stop pushing and stop moving. And like, because I was telling Reason, like, I think a good flanker knows when to like stop running around. Like once you're in a really forward position, if you know that you can win the round with that, like to recognize that, and just being able to recognize like when you're in a game-winning position. And it's really complex. So we could talk about that in a sec, but let's talk to Kisses real quick. So Kisses and Sparkles, one of the old school North American players, and if I'm not mistaken, the winningest individual player in all of Insurgency history. Is that
JeMs? Insurgency is a team game.
That's true, but if you want to look at it, if you just want to look at the trophy case, Kisses, what I honestly don't even really know. So let's go way back before Insurgency. How did you get into video games and competitive gaming, I guess, originally?
Let's see. I think I first got into like computer games playing Civilization 2 on Hot Seat in my neighbor's basement. And then we played some StarCraft, but I really played competitively first in Half-Life. Well, it was a Half-Life mod, but Dave Defeat, I guess. I don't know. So I played that first competitively. That was when I was in high school. Actually, when I was a junior or a sophomore. One of those summers, I went to the World Series of Video Games in Dallas. My dad and my brother took me down there, and I played with a team in a BYOC event, and we placed like, I don't know, the top half or something. We didn't do as well as we could have. But that was kind of like my first competitive gaming experience, at least from a FPS perspective.
That's awesome. Dang, I wish I had gone to BYOC events sooner. Yeah. But it's not about me. What got you into Insurgency? When did you first pick up the game, and when did you first realize that it could be played competitively? Talk about that.
Dude, let me check my Steam achievements.
Did you just follow your own stream, Jems?
No.
Oh, that was weird.
Maybe.
What would be like
I'm in my
the
stream. I was
first?
about to turn off the noise.
All right,
So
I
maybe
killed
it
100 players on the opposing team on January 23rd of 2014. Oh, I actually got first blood on January 22nd.
Okay.
So sometime around there, I guess.
January 2014.
2014.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I saw NWI streaming, and on Heights of all, or no, not Heights. What's that map called? Peak of all things.
Oh my.
And I was like, this game looks fun. It was like $15, so I bought it. And I played in pubs and stuff, but I don't really like playing pubs at all. Like I could never be Grinmore and kill 50,000 bots, or how many ever millions of bots that he's killed. That's super boring to me. So I think I was kind of always looking for it to be competitive. Even when I played Day of Defeat, I didn't play in pubs really. Like it's never been fun to me to play in public servers. I don't know why. It's just not. I don't know. It's just not. It's not the same, dude. Once you've played competitively, I guess.
It's that civilization blood. I don't know. I feel very similarly, and the route that we both took to competitive games is similar, like strategy games.
The only public servers I ever played in were 24/7 Assault. I don't know why. I don't know why that was the thing.
Assault?
On Counter-Strike. 1.4.
Oh, geez. Like the map, Assault.
Yeah.
The hostage map. Oh my god.
Yep. That was like the only. And there were like servers that had like 20 versions of Assault, and that was like the only public servers I would play. I played competitive StarCraft, kind of, not really, StarCraft 2, but I don't know. Like I enjoy that games now are having like competitive modes, right? Like League of Legends basically only has a competitive mode.
Right.
Sandstorm will have a competitive mode. CS:GO has a competitive mode. Like that makes a lot of sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me is why CS:GO is going to make me play like 50 hours of public servers before I can play in competitive again. But whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's just like.
That's really just to prevent Smurfs, and it punishes everyone.
Yeah, it does suck.
And
Hard to get into that.
Yeah, or Snailman's been playing Rocket League on stream that has like built-in competitive. Like,
absolutely, that's basically only their casual mode is the same thing. It even has elo. So if you play casual enough, you'll get like competitively matchmaked versus people. It's just not very strict, so you can get games faster.
So
yeah, like I couldn't save Ambush because I've probably never played it.
So would you say you're excited for matchmaking in Sandstorm? Are you excited for Sandstorm?
I don't know, JeMs. Like, how much does chemotherapy cost now?
Oh my god.
I know. I think I'm excited for it. I think it'll be fun. Like, I don't know. I'll probably be terrible when Sandstorm comes out, so like I'll have to retire. But I think it'll be fun to have matchmaking. I think it'll be interesting to see like how different it is, even versus like, God knows I complain about playing in pugs enough to JeMs. Like I imagine matchmaking will be even worse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's going to be interesting because like I don't know if like I have this thought process. Like there's this whole thing where like, well, it's like an old kind of like saying, right? Like don't be afraid of the guy who's like slightly less skilled than you. Be afraid. You know, there's some saying about that, right? Like.
Yeah.
When you get into when Sandstorm rolls out and I roll into my first placement match at the bottom of the ladder, and 9 out of 10 people in the server, I guess excluding me, like have no idea what they're doing. Like sometimes it feels like a lot of the stuff that you know from playing Source competitive is going to work against you. You're going to be like, oh well, I shouldn't do this or I shouldn't do that. When really all you just need to do is run around and kill everyone because they're going to suck.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting because compared to like pretty much any of those games you mentioned previously, like Counter-Strike, as I guess the closest example I can think of, Insurgency requires so much more like teamwork because there's no like free information. Also, the game hasn't been played competitively in like a public eye esports setting, so there isn't like a very well laid out like meta game. Like in Counter-Strike, everyone kind of knows. Like also just the game mode is like the decision making for the game mode is kind of just already there for you. Like you're gonna go B or A if you're a terrorist, and you're gonna try to plant a bomb, and you're gonna kill anyone you see on the way. Like that's not too hard to understand. Like at any level. Whereas Insurgency, like it's so nuanced, and knowing like what to do is so much more complex of a thing to know.
Yes, I'm curious to see how that plays out, right? Like, you will be rewarded for doing things suboptimally, I think, at the bottom of the ladder, which is an interesting. But that's probably always
optimal.
The case.
I think a better way to phrase it.
A relative term, yeah.
I think the better way to phrase it is optimal is different in pugs than it is in a match, like with a team.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys relate to this, but I've always felt like when I'm playing matchmaking, like any game with a competitive mode, like Counter-Strike or Rocket League are the main examples, at least for me. But as I'm improving, just like skill-wise, I always feel like I develop these systems of thinking, and as I'm ranking up using those systems, then they stop working. I have to I reach like a plateau, and I have to like break all those habits of things that I learned to do that were working, and like retrain new ones to work at that new level. And that like when I go and watch RLCS, professional Rocket League or professional CS or something, and I see people doing things, and like I try to play in a way that makes sense to me, having watched that or mimicked that stuff, it works. It's like really bad, and I get punished for playing that way. And so I have to, I don't know, I get a little bit frustrated at that aspect of ranking up, but I think it is absolutely just optimal changes at different levels.
Yeah, I think it's all about playing relative to what level your opponent is at and what level your team is at. Because if you're playing in a respectful way, and like in like the in-game respect, where it's like, you give the opponent like the benefit of the doubt that they're going to get the default map control that they're supposed to get for free, or that they're not going to do this stupid thing, or that any of these things. If you play with like the top level in mind and like what you're used to, then you're actually giving the opponent stuff for free, because especially if your teammates are liable to give like free stuff to the enemy, like give kills, do suboptimal plays. So you kind of have to play suboptimally to take advantage of like the suboptimal play of your opponents, if that makes any sense. And sometimes it's just going to be more volatile. Like sometimes you'll just straight up lose, like trying to get that, advantage that you normally should never be able to get, but you kind of have to go for it if you want to be like playing solo queue correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a mindset thing, right? Like, I don't like doing things that rely on my opponent to be bad for it to work, but I mean, Link lives on that, so it should be fine, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's like it's like the art of war right there, right? Know your enemy.
Awesome.
And I think that actually segues fairly well into, Reason and Jolly, if you want to get back into that. Where like,
so I think one thing before we even do this, I think is really interesting. This is like, I'm an old guy, get off my lawn territory here. What I think is really interesting, and I've seen these conversations popping up lately, and I'm glad that we're having them, but like, I think it's really interesting how people are saying like, hey, JeMs, like, what do I do to get better? Like, Snailman, you didn't have that luxury growing up, right? Like, I think it's really interesting, right? Like, people kind of take for granted the fact that they can go to other players and say, hey, what am I missing here? What should I do differently? What should I do better? And that wasn't always the case.
Oh, God, yeah. Go look at, like, the Season 1 playoffs.
I even think, like... Yeah, I mean, and you can just see, like, people just figure things out.
Yeah.
Like, I think back to, like... I think now, like, pistol rushing is, like... And I'm not going to claim I invented this, but, like, pistol rushing is just a thing that is common knowledge now. Everyone does it. But when I was on Own, we played FGC on District, and like we were losing, and I just started taking a pistol and sprinting through tires because I didn't know what to do, and it just worked over and over and over again.
Yeah, and I started doing like that. You changed my mind. I learned that from you. that and I just immediately started doing it. I'm like, oh my God, this is great.
So I guess what I'm getting at before we go into this conversation is I think it's great to ask questions of people and say what should I do differently, or watch streams or what have you. But I also think people shouldn't take that as the only way they can get information.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've picked up things from other people, but I feel a lot of things that I do because I took the time to figure them out.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of players who have been around feel the same way, right? Link, I know, spent tons of time on Embassy, and Fienda did the same thing, timing how long it takes to get places. And right. They spend a ton of time and effort doing that, and then other people benefit from that. And so I think it's good of Jolly to ask the questions, but I think one thing people don't, or I have the impression people don't do, is they don't just go out and figure it out on their own either. And I think that's how you really get a leg up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
I was watching Jems' video with the Olaf boost yesterday, right? I guess what he's saying is you need to go on YouTube and find all the cool cheats and then do them there.
Yeah, tell the people to take.
But there's no YouTube for Insurgency, so you have to figure it out on your own.
Right.
Right, and I think fundamentally you just Socratic method, ask why, always.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's huge for Insurgency. I always say it's more of a knowledge-based game than a skill-based game, although I would say skill is hand in hand with knowledge, and not it. I think having aim skill and technical skill is super important still, but knowledge is more important. The other day, Kisses was like, I don't think you need to have skill to be good at this game. And it's true. If you set yourself up, you can have a play style where you're just preemptively shutting down options, and you wait and that option will happen, and you'll just kill your opponent for free because you're ready for it. And that doesn't really take skill in the traditional sense of being able to 180 flick headshot someone through a wall. But yeah, and I think the fastest way to progress with that isn't by just grinding. When matchmaking comes out, I don't think people that grind matchmaking and are maybe the top in matchmaking will necessarily be the best players to form a team to play in a league setting. In some cases, I think they will be. I think if you're able to just jump into the game and do well in a random pug setting, that shows you have decent positioning and aim, and you're able to stay alive and just trade positively. But as far as knowledge and the high level stuff, I think a lot of it you can get by just asking people stuff. And I think some people kind of feel it's kind of too late for me to get good at a game sometimes when they're jumping into a game late. But actually, the longer a game's been out, Counter-Strike, so many pros Skadoodle, Suijuke, all these players that pretty much played CS:GO as their first CS, got insane really, really fast because there's so much available now, especially since YouTube came out. YouTube wasn't out when we were doing our Civ 2 and StarCraft Brood War back in the day. There was just forums, but yeah, picking the brains of your colleagues is really, really useful to kind of shortcut your way up the ladder. But at the same time, it's they're going to give you a little puzzle piece that's this is really important and I use this, but it's a little puzzle piece that fits into their big puzzle of their flowchart of how they play the game. And so you can't just you have to take it with a grain of salt and figure out why what they're saying is true, but at the same time you have to understand the context, because you can't just be oh, I'm going to always do this thing that they just told me to do. You got to figure out when it's good, and figuring out stuff on your own and why it's good, and really understanding the root of why it's good is important.
Absolutely. I remember back in the day when you had to subscribe to a magazine to learn anything.
Game Informer.
It's actually really funny how the internet, because the main game that I played that taught me how to think and how to do stuff is Magic the Gathering, and I've talked about it before, but that game existed in a really highly it was on ESPN in the late 90s. They ESPN2 had Magic tournaments. It's super weird and it was really awkward, but that was before the internet. And I remember going to the store and buying a magazine and reading strategy advice and stuff. And if I go back and think about it, it's all terrible. It's terrible advice because there was no hive mind. There wasn't this big, massive group of people thinking about stuff all the time and kind of collectively making decisions about things. And now Magic is still a huge game. They have, 1,000-person tournaments every weekend. And when a new set comes out, like people figure out the best deck in like a week or two, and every now and then on Magic Online they do like retro formats where it's like go back and play this standard, and like people figure out that like there's like 5 or 6 decks and you can like pick which one, and those were the ones from the Pro Tour that year, and people figure out that like one of them is just like actually good and all the other ones are terrible, and they just like grind and play that. It's really funny to see how the internet and how like collective thinking has adjusted and changed. You can shortcut so hard.
Wizards is trying to combat that, right? Snailman, like they're hiding information from Magic Online now.
Yeah.
Which I just think is really interesting. They're basically saying like we won't actually tell you what the best decks are and what all the cards are in them.
Yeah. They pick random results now. They used to show you which decks like went undefeated in various daily tournaments and stuff, and they went to a new system where they just randomly pick decks, and they like their algorithm will pick if there's a 5 or 6 cards different from anything that's ever been successful before, they'll pick those ones instead of the other ones to like give this illusion that everything's fine and that there's not some like best deck to play all the time, which is very funny.
So I mean, I don't mean to derail us from answering Jolly's questions, but I think the point I really wanted to make was I think all of us are happy to talk about these things, but I also think like there is information out there that these guys can get on their own that we can't give to them, or we won't. But I mean, there's nothing to win here, so we
also
like all the information we have.
Nobody solved the game, and there's tons of bad advice. Like
I played on 110 FOV for forever.
Advice occasionally.
Well, and I think what's also really interesting is like, and when I did my demo review or my district thing, like I actually started thinking about this, like. I think about playing apartments in district and what you should do on Insurgents, and I just take for granted that like Tarpon is my security blanket and will keep me alive. And like I'm saying like, well, you should do this and you should do this and you should do this, like all under the auspice that like, well, you have Tarpon to protect you, so you can do all these things and it's okay.
Yeah, that's why Jolly just said. For me, when I ask for help, I like to ask the reasoning as to why more than exactly what to do.
Direction.
So, yeah, that's why I think like if you're teaching this game or you're being taught, try to understand, like think of it as like your role, and think of it as like your goal and your role as a team. Like your team's goal, and that can change round to round because there's a variety of different strategies you can do as a team, and your role is how you fit into achieving that goal. And if you have a really good understanding of your role and you practice it a lot and see a lot of different ways that a round can play out, you start to like build like a memory of like every reaction and what like the best possible thing you should do. And that's why scrimming is really important with a team. Now in a pug, nothing's consistent, so it's sort of more like instinct. And I think like if you never become like a pug god, it doesn't mean you won't be like a god role player on a team. Like you could be like really insane on a team if you're like really well ingrained in that team and like you're solid mechanically. Like some people, I think it's 2 parts of the brain. Like being good at pugging is not the same part of the brain as being good in a team, because it's like a lot less information to juggle and a lot more just like being really quick to make the perfect decision. Whereas you can't really make a perfect decision in a pug. So you have way less info on your half of the game, like your team. You don't even have the info from your team, which is why I'm always trying to get people. Well, this is my sick of it. So when we do sick of it later, you'll hear that. But talk about comms.
So I guess to answer John's question around like what is the question, like what's the next step as a support player, right? Like or how do I rotate properly? Maybe is the question.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess I'll tell you how I feel about this as a not really support player. I think like one thing that sticks out to me the most when I think about being a support player is basically correctly valuing the lives of the individuals on the team, right? So knowing when your life is more valuable than someone else's, and when it's less valuable than someone else's, and then also recognizing like when capturing the point matters and when doesn't, right? So I'm specifically thinking of 2 things in my head, right? But if you're a support player and you've got a player on B and you're trying not to die and that causes your B player to die, like you made a mistake, right? Like you shouldn't be just throwing your life away, but actually sometimes dying to get the B cap is much better than letting your B player die and then trying to like refrag or something like that.
And
then the other thing that I think about is as a support player, like focusing on. So I'm thinking about if you're capturing B again or trying to play B, focusing on the outside points when they don't matter. If it's a 2 versus 5, you don't need to worry about defending your home point. You need to worry about capturing B and then go from there.
Right.
And I think like those are two things that stick out to me the most. And neither of them are really too much to do with rotations specifically, but those are the big mistakes I think I see people make in supporting roles a lot, is valuing their own life too highly and valuing your defending points more highly than they should, especially when they have a lot of teammates dead.
Yeah. No. Specifically about rotating, like I always think about rotating as like map control is a fluid concept, and rotating is just like adjusting to changes. Like you go to a spot at the very start of the map because you're expecting to control certain parts of the map, and like your job is to get some part of them, like to hold some control or do something. But as people die, as stuff happens, that changes. And so you need to evaluate like, okay, well, this part of the map is now more important than what I was originally watching, so I'm going to adjust and go here and do this. Or like also valuing your life over the B player also matters. Like how hard will it be to get back onto B? If we can, like on Embassy, if you're playing above Bravo, like in Trees or Shrine, it's really freaking hard to rotate into B. It's like you have to risk a lot to get there. So not only is your life like at the present moment at risk, also if you're gonna have to move to B at some point, like that's another risk to add on to it that devalues your life more. But like that changes depending on the map. Sometimes you can sneak onto B very easily, or maybe you're playing a support position from much closer to Bravo, in which case your life is about as valuable as theirs. So you can, just really thinking about all of the, like everything kind of comes together, but you are making an expected value decision. Like,
yeah, I mean, and I'm not saying this is good advice, but there have been times when I've been playing Balcony on District and I have a B player. If you sit back into barn door and just peek the windows very safely, like you'll never die, but you can't actually see anything either. Like I've literally stood on top of the railing just so I can see everything. And it's like, yeah, that's a stupid place to stand. But if the enemy stops for a split second to shoot you, you now know where he is.
Yeah.
Whereas like he could sneak past you if you're hiding, and he could kill your guy, and now you have to get out to B. So, I'm not necessarily suggesting you should, stand out in the open and suicide, but getting information sometimes is what you need to do.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that exact situation because I see it a lot. It's really, really common where your team's committed to playing B, and it's really, really close round where maybe it's like your guy's still on B, it's capping up. If your guy's capping up B, this is why I think everything decision-making stems from the info you're getting from your B guy, which is why if you're playing on B, I think it's so important to give the percent of the B cap, because in that situation Kiss was describing, say B is capping up, that's important to know, and it's at 75%. So there's 5 seconds left or less before this point gets capped. You are now at your life is super worth putting at risk to cover as much as you can to help make sure that B point gets capped. And so if you're just sitting in dark window, just holding A1 in apps, that's not going to help you cap B. So do whatever you can at that point to help cap B. And I think it's even good to run and start a double cap. If you're not sure what to cover, having 2 guys on B covering looking opposite directions, it's going to be really hard for them to take both of you out, especially if you have the even less time to finish that cap with the double cap going on. So if you're a support player, you got to be able to recognize when that B cap is getting close, and when your team it's a really, really close round, you need to up the risk factor and increase the amount of coverage you're doing and the amount of overwatch you have.
I'm super into double capping these days.
Yeah, I actually don't even know if support is the right terminology.
Yeah, do we want to talk about that?
Because we're saying, Jolly says, what should a support, how do I rotate as a support player, right? So let's talk about Armada, right? So I think we would classify Grinmore and Tarpon as support players, technically. But, I don't think the classification necessarily works that well. Because, when I think about District, your guy on Balcony is a quote-unquote support player, but really he's just a gun turret.
Yeah.
He's supporting you by killing everyone. That guy is supposed to get all the kills. That's the best position on the map. How do you rotate from Balcony? You don't. Why would you leave the best position on the map? there are very, very, very few situations when you're like, oh, yep, I'm going to leave barn door now.
Yeah, I think a support. I think that like back in the day when I first started playing, it was like you're a flanker or you're an assault player, and it was sort of like you either are running and pushing and holding W and trying to kill people, or you're sniping and camping and holding objectives. And it's like that's two things that don't really synergize with each other necessarily. So I kind of feel like everyone who's not playing B is a support player. Like your job is to cap B. You win the game by having B and C. So just do whatever, like everyone on the team should be doing something that helps cap B. So
yeah. I mean, and that gets into Reason's question, right? Or the question about Reason, I guess, is like, how do I know when to stop as a flanker? Like I've definitely gotten arguments with Wooly about this kind of thing before, where it's like, why are you pushing tires and going to C when we're playing B?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, theoretically the other team could react and could go to C, and that removes a player from B, but they could also just take their numbers advantage, wipe out your B presence, and then just block you in and kill you on C too.
Yeah.
So I like the idea that you're saying, JeMs, is like, the assumption is, well, support players are there to support the B players. Flankers aren't support players, therefore they don't have to support the B player. I don't think that's true at all. Your aggressive players should be thinking about how they're supporting whatever your team, whatever your strategy is. Everyone should be thinking about how they play into that. And you shouldn't. I don't think you should be trying to play two objectives. You shouldn't be pushing B and C at the same time. And I don't think like deathmatch is a great strategy, but I guess.
I think we can definitely blame Outlawed for this, because I think my intuition for why this exists is that the classes are named like flanker and sniper and assault.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do. So that the theater, the rules for like competitive existed in TWL. They like decided that the SMGs they shot too fast or something, and they were too good. And like the decisions about how many SMGs you can take, and that the LMGs are banned and the like explosives are banned and stuff, that took place like during the beta of this game by like some players that don't play anymore. And like Outlaw just made the theater to reflect the rules at the time of season 1, and like he just named them because the theaters like in the base game is like they're named based on like what weapons exist or whatever. But just because you can take an MP5 or like you can only take 2 MP5s as a team doesn't mean you should take any MP5s, and it doesn't mean that you have 2 flankers. It's just like there's 5 people.
Yeah, everyone on security could have an M4.
Yeah, the classes don't matter at all. And I think one of the most important things for learning how to play is to learn how to play with the light weapons that are available for every class. So like,
but yeah, to be fair to Outlawed, Snailman, I don't think we should blame him because people see a word and think that's the only thing they're allowed to do.
Nah,
it says flanker. I must flank.
I actually think
definitely Outlawed's fault.
I actually think that's the thing. Like, and I think like people, it's the same thing with like lanes. They think about like, all right, there's these classes. I'm a flanker. I'm going to play this certain way. And they also think of like, okay, this map has 5 lanes. We always got to have somebody in all those lanes. You check all the boxes off. It's like, you don't put yourself in like a box. Like the game's more fluid than that. Like this is just a little insight and maybe some spoilers for like, I feel like how Embassy should be played. But we've recently on Armada just been like, and just like in Pugs too. And on security side, it's like, oh, well, who's playing our shrine? It's like, okay, this guy's Crescent, this guy's trees, this guy's shrine, this guy's B, this guy's blue cubby. And then I'm like, wait, do we really need someone in shrine? Like, what does shrine do that like Crescent can't do? And so it's like, sometimes I don't think if one spot makes like other spots obsolete, like maybe you don't need to always have someone just like in those windows. And I think Embassy, it's like, oh, these are windows that like overlook B. It's like 3 dark windows. Like you gotta have someone there every round, right? It's like, do you?
I mean, dark window sucks too. So
yeah, it's like everyone just thinks like, oh, this is like a obviously really strong spot. You just have someone there all the time, right? I don't know. I think you got to think outside the box and innovate a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's like for a while I was railing against like lanes, like the idea of lanes. Like they're obviously helpful from like getting new players engaged and getting people spread across the map in pugs and stuff. But I think lanes are not helpful at all. Like you definitely don't need a tires and an apartments player on security on district every single round.
Yeah.
But in pugs you end up with one because people just pick their lane. And the other thing I think is bad about lanes is I think like it makes sense to allocate players to places on the map based on what they're good at. And a player who's good at playing balcony on Insurgents, that's a different skill set than it takes to play balcony on security.
Yeah.
And I think people are doing a better job of this, but like the Insurgent calorie to security balcony is apartments.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Totally. Yeah, I think it's kind of a backwards way.
If you play C on market, you should probably on Insurgents you should probably play A on security. They're the same thing.
Yeah, I think people kind of think about the game like from a lane. They think lane first, and then like kill the other guy in my lane, and then like everything's after that. But it's backwards. It should be like, how are we gonna win the round? That's the first thing you think of. And if that's like capping B, you think, okay, how am I gonna help that? And then it's like, okay, where am I going in the map? And then how does that lane affect like the thing that's gonna help us win the round? Like how does that help us win B? And if the answer is it doesn't help us win B, then maybe you don't have to play there.
Yeah, I think just lanes are like, I mean, I've been around a long time, and the question is like, I've asked this, like, why do we think about these lanes, or why are we playing them? I mean, this is a thought process I had a long time ago, and FGC was trying to come up with setups, and we were trying to come up with strats and stuff, and I was watching professional CS:GO matches and just like learning about first-person shooters and how they work competitively and stuff, and like, why do we have lanes? And the reason lanes exist is that they're just a useful way for understanding the flow of the map and possibilities of things you could do.
Yeah.
And it's like an easy way if you're just a bunch of people and you don't know each other. Like, it's the most basic way to communicate about a map, but it doesn't.
And it's a good way to learn the game, like,
right,
incrementally.
But it, like, we should be striving to move past the most basic way of thinking, right? Like,
I agree. I think the answer, I guess my answer, and this is kind of a cop-out answer. My answer as to how you learn to rotate better is you communicate more effectively. Mm-hmm. Like, rotating is just knowing where you need to be.
Right.
And you can't know where you need to be unless you're omniscient or someone tells you, like, or you have information, right?
If you're good at looking at the map.
Yeah, well, and even then, though, like, this happens all the time. You're playing District, you're on B, you're watching, I don't know, whatever, their Arch, and you have a balcony guy who's watching Apartments, and he thinks, oh, I have to rotate because it's just the two of us, or what have you. But realistically, that might just be the best spot for him to be. So I think it's really around communication on what's being covered and what's not, and then knowing as a team or as a player which of those things is most threatening, right? Because probably when you're rotating, you have to make decisions on, okay, well, I'm not going to cover this anymore. And again, that partially comes down to communication, and that comes down to game knowledge, I guess. But I really think it's a lot about communication, and some of it you can even do in advance, right? If we get into a 3-person situation on B, this is how we're going to set it up so we can cover everything that we think is important. You know, you're responsible for this, you're responsible for this. And the other thing, too, is talking through, okay, if the B player dies, who is the first responder? Right? Like, on District, balcony should not be your first responder. Link will always yell at you for jumping off of the bridge on market because it's just a stupid thing to do. Like, you should almost never jump off of the bridge because the bridge is a good position to have. Someone who's not on the bridge should give up their position first.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all just comes down to, like, evaluating what's the most important map control. Like, the map control has evolved in this way in this particular round based on communication from your teammates, who they've killed and who's died, and just being able to evaluate what's important, and with the ultimate goal of how are we winning this round. And if you have a plan at the start, like we're going to cap B or whatever, and that hasn't completely fallen apart, then you're probably going to keep pursuing that. But if it's like really fallen apart in a completely broken round, or it's 2v5 or whatever, like that plan drastically changes, and your rotation probably is much more drastic as well. Mm-hmm. Like, also, never limit your options. I see a lot of people think about rotating, or they think, okay, they even correctly realize, okay, this has gone wrong, I need to do something. Like, I can't sit here because what I'm doing isn't helping anymore. Yeah. And they just move forward. They're just 100% of the time will always push forward. And that's like, why would you want to limit yourself that way? There's always more than one direction to go. You can rotate backwards. You can rotate, like, if you're defending your blue point, you can rotate backwards towards your spawn and reposition to a different one. It might take a little longer. Maybe you don't have the time. Maybe you do need to push forward, or there's like, just always give yourself the most options. Don't put yourself limit yourself into a box. Don't think, okay, this is my lane. I have to do something. The only thing I can do is push forward and look for some fight. Like, that's not even always true as well. Sometimes on market, for example, when like everything's gone wrong on B and the last two people alive are like your barber, if you're security, for example, you're like a defense player and your barber player are the two people left alive, like it might be the right thing to do for the barber player to sit for a little while and the A person to push through skinny and maybe try to get all the way to C through like evaluating where the enemy is. Like sometimes some weird play that you might never do, or like might never be an okay play to do at the start of a round, becomes a good play. Like go all the way through skinny, just like ignore people, go through construction and try to get to C, like some long roundabout way. I've told people to do that before and like it's worked. So
yeah, that's Will's favorite strat. Bail out and go C.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like the enemy team, the other thing is that if something's gone horribly wrong in the middle of the map, maybe the other team devoted a lot of resources to it, and maybe there's a weakness on the edge, and if you just go quickly. So the other thing is you don't have like 10 seconds to sit there and think about this. It's
also, there's sometimes if you just have 3 people go down with absolutely nothing in your favor, so much damage has been done to your team without damaging the enemy that there's probably nothing you can do to win that round. But the best thing you can do to like quickly think about it is think about, all right, where could possible vulnerabilities still be? And if you know where they're not vulnerable, if you know where your teammates got killed, you can either rotate back to try to get the kill if you think that guy's just gonna like push through over aggressively, and then you create a vulnerability by like getting that trade after the fact, or you can push something that you don't have info on, and it's kind of a coin flip, like on back to district. If you're a cafe player and you're last up, or there's only 2 people left, a lot of times you could just like push their street. If they're still in their street watching the street, you die 100%. If they're not, then you have a really, really strong flank. So you just kind of gotta try stuff, but a lot of times you're just gonna lose that round because you lost 3 people and got nothing out of it. So it's no big deal. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like, and this gets back to communication, but what helps with rotations is knowing is not necessarily being in the situation where something happens that you didn't anticipate, right? So communicating with your team around like, okay, I'm gonna push tires on security and district. I'm pushing tires, and my apartments guy is also playing aggressive. Okay, so I have 2 people playing aggressive. That tells me that if one of them dies, like it's possible for the enemy to push through and go to our street. And so I might need to rotate from dark window to our street then, or our B player has to be aware that he might have to turn around and watch that. So I think it's putting thought into advance of saying, okay, I know what everyone on my team is doing. Here's where we're weak, and here's what I will do to mitigate that if necessary.
I think you could flowchart it, and it's like if we still have B presence, so it's a typical round, you're playing for B, you lose 3 players, you can ask yourself, do we still have any control at all of B? If the answer is no, the answer might be to go to the red point, go to C. If the answer is yes, like maybe your B guy's still alive, or you have guys near B and B was like capped up for you and the enemy's not playing B, maybe you just all in and get somebody or everybody just to rush B. So you kind of, but I think another way of thinking about it is if you're down, you have a huge man disadvantage, your only way of getting back in the round is pretty much playing a point. So you got to think which point is more viable to get on right now. And especially if they're capping up a point, then you just need to go for the other one. And you just got to try it, and you got to try to communicate with your remaining teammates to make it happen and time it so that you have a trade potential. And if you're insurgent side district, maybe okay, we lost B, we lost tires, we lost apps. All right, I'm in Arch, and our guy holding garage is still alive. All right, let's go A. Like, all right, I'm going to drop hole. You push cafe. We'll time it at the same time. If there's just one guy in cafe, it's really hard to deal with a hole drop and a push at the same time if you sync it up. So that gives you a good chance, and you can clutch if you get onto A, you can clutch from there, and probably get spawn camped after that, but whatever. You give your team a chance.
Yeah, you give your team a chance. Sometimes the guy, sometimes Tarpon hits a great shot on the dude spawn camping, or you get a flash you like somebody throws a good flash and like you actually win that fight. I mean, it happens.
Cool. I think we nailed it. I think we crushed that.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to think of an example where someone does like this huge rotation, right? Like rotations are small. They're small changes. They're not that big typically. Because if you're in a spot where you have to make a huge rotation, like maybe that wasn't the best spot to be in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Absolutely.
Or somebody who had a really important spot made a mistake that they shouldn't have.
Right.
All right, let's kick it to the next segment. Hopefully, I mean, unless you guys want to talk about it from a flanker perspective, I don't really think any of us. I don't really have any tips. I think we've covered it a little earlier, seeing like when I said like knowing when to like stop holding W and like just control like the part of the map that you've gotten to that normally you shouldn't have access to. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the most important thing for aggressive players who tend to play flanker to realize is like when they need to stop being aggressive, right? Like at the point where you're worth you're worth a lot when you've pushed forward, just by being alive.
Yeah, I think.
And
also
sometimes the risk that you take to kill another person is not worth the potential loss of your life.
Yeah, and
if you're just in their trees alive, you're causing them a lot of pain even without doing anything.
Yeah, if you can put yourself in a really safe spot that's able to cover a key area, and that is normally something you'd have to invest a lot from your side of the map to cover, give your team that info. Be like, okay, I've made it to this point. I'm safe, and I'm able to cover this, like their side. I'm able to cover the enemy's entrance to B, or I'm able to cover, this like big huge chunk of the map, and that can free up like up to maybe 2 of your support players to like rotate and like or just like have extra cover, or like give that info to your team. And if you have good teammates, like they'll be like, oh wow, like you pushed all the way through to their street, like, oh, okay, I don't need to hold for the balk push, I can just completely like play like mid balk now that I'm not scared about anyone coming up on a balk. Like it frees up your support players to play like a lot more relaxed and like able to like do a lot more. So
right.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call out, JeMs. Like it's kind of like the flanker role splits into 2 halves, right? You need to be good at entry fragging to win the fight, to get to the position, and then you just sit there and you hold the position, right? So if I do something ungodly silly like push tires as an insurgent flanker and I get the kill, if I just shift W, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sprint past their arch. I'm going to try to kill that guy. I'm going to sprint up into dark window. I'm going to try to kill that guy. But really, like that's a lot of risk. What I could do instead is just, like you said, lay down and say, okay, I have their street covered. Now your apartments guys are like, okay, well, apartments is clear. I no longer have to be afraid of being flanked. All I have to do is look at big door now. That balcony guy can't do anything. Mm-hmm. If he can, but it's a lot harder for him to do things. You're causing a lot of pain even without getting any more kills. And by dying, you would give up a lot of the advantage that you found.
I have a really interesting analogy. I watched a documentary about Alphago, which is the neural network learning like AI that defeated a 9-dan Go champion in South Korea, like a couple years ago. And
that's
one
like
of the
Asian
biggest
chess.
Yeah. So
Go.
That was huge news at the time. Go, the game, Go, chess. And one of the greatest thing, like one of the most interesting things about the program, which uses like neural nets and other stuff to learn about, the game, and it plays against itself to like get better. When it felt like it was winning, it started to play super cautiously. And like all of the commentators who were commentating the games and stuff got really confused, like where towards the end of the game, they're like, oh man, Go made like AlphaGo's made this great move. It has this advantage. Like the human player is like really struggling at this moment, blah, blah, blah. And then like it like stopped going for it. So in Go, you like trying to win more than 50% of the board. And a normal human player, when they get some advantage, will press their advantage to the maximum. They're like, oh my God, I got this advantage. I'm going to try to capitalize as much as I can and take as much territory as I can based on this mistake that the other person made or this great play I made. And like, instead of doing that, AlphaGo was like, oh, I got this advantage. Okay, I'm going to figure out how much of this I need. How safe can I play and still win by a lot? And it would win all of its games by just enough. And like the commentators would be trying to figure it out at the very end. They're like, oh, I think it's winning here. That was so weird that it made these plays, but it would like make some great play. It would make some good push and get some advantage on the map. And then it would just like play as safely as possible. It would never try to press it to the maximum. It would never chase the ace or the 5k flank. It would be like, oh, I got this flank. I killed the guy. I got this part of the map. Like the easiest way to win is to just let the time run out on the round and let the other team play themselves into defeat. Like they can't win if I'm here, if I'm alive. So I don't know.
And then
it just reminded me of that. It's really interesting.
I like how you called the Go board a map. And map control.
It is.
Yeah, I know. It's cool.
Yeah,
it totally is. And it's like in chess, there's like sight lines. It's like your bishop is cutting off like this angle or whatever. Yeah, it's chess.
Yeah.
We play chess. We play internet gun chess, you guys. If you think chess is for nerds, well, too bad. You're playing it. It's just real time with guns and graphics. But like that's when people get upset about like games being violent or whatever. I'm like, nah, dude, I'm playing chess. Like, they could be robots shooting lasers, and I would still play it. Like, I'm thinking about it like on the chess level.
Yeah, I think one of the ways you can make the step, like if there's a next step to be made, I think like one of the ways you can make it is like stop trying to be a hero, right? Like your job isn't to kill everyone. Or if it is, that's not a very great strategy, right? Like, know what your job is and then do your job and count on your teammates to do their job, and that's how you win.
Yeah.
And pugs do a really bad job of encouraging this type of play, I think, because everyone thinks it's their job to win, right? Like, this is why you see people, it's 2 versus 1, and a guy's on B, and the other guy, like, instead of covering him, will just, like, go off into some random corner and hide. Because he's like, well, if I die, I can't win the game. So I better go somewhere where I can't die, so I have the chance to win.
Yeah, and if you decide that your job that you set out to do isn't needed anymore and you think of a better job you can be doing, tell your team that you've changed jobs and what your new job is.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard. It's always like a communication issue at the fundamental level. Like,
and I think one thing is if you're doing your job and you got street control, like just yell at your team that you have it, because people are like, this happens all the time. It happens way too much to us, JeMs. Like, you're like, people will say things like 5 or 6 times and you still don't hear them, especially if it's something that you're not expecting to happen.
Right.
And so like you have to pay attention to your teammates and be like, I have street control. Stop playing like a pansy and go do something.
Yeah.
Like you're covered.
Right. And it's actually just very hard. It's just a very hard skill to develop.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, I was telling JeMs I was going to write a book or something. Right. And like, that's how I feel about Insurgency. Do your job, and your job isn't killing people. If that's what you think your job is, you're wrong.
No, I still think the easiest way to win is for the clock to run out. It's like my mantra at this point. I would tell my team constantly, like, commit to playing the entire round to 0 seconds, because you can win with 2 objectives, and it doesn't require the, like, enemy team to make some mistake, right?
Yeah, we had a round in the pug last night when I was terrible, and Joe and I were alive in a 2 versus 1.
I hate you for making this call, by the way.
I got onto A, and I was like, Joe, just hide somewhere near B. Just hide. And I was like, he has, and when there was like 5 seconds left of the round, I was like, okay, just walk to B now and decap it, because either this guy is coming A, or he's not. And if he's on B, he kills you and you die, but we win because I cap A. Or if he's at A, you just decap B and we win anyways. Like, it's impossible to lose if you don't chase the kill.
It was me on the other team. And I knew where both of you were, and I was on B, and I was like saying, you can go watch this from my perspective. It was really late at night. I don't think anyone was awake, but like, I was like saying out loud to my team, to the apps person, like, peek me, you pussy, in apartments. I'm like just out in the middle of the open, like trying to bait the person into fucking peeking me on the Bravo, and they never did. And I was really frustrated, and I had to run to A. And I was a 5K, like 1v5 clutch round that was drawing down to the very like end, and I had killed 4 people in the 1v5, and like it came down to the 1v1, and I lost because I ran out of time because Kisses made this good call, and I was really sad because it was a sick clip. It would be the #1 clip of the week.
If you don't think you can win the round, go for the clip.
It was just nothing. No, it was actually just like one of the best clutches I'd ever had up to that point, but I lost anyway because the other team outplayed me.
I've been forgetting to look at the clock lately, and so I'm trying to remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can win without killing someone, that's the best strategy.
Yeah, it was very sad. Very, very sad. All right, we should move on, I think.
Yes.
To what, Odd Man Out or Odd Map Out or Know Your Enemy? I feel like we've done that.
Yeah, we just did Know Your Enemy a little bit. Yeah, let's talk some old maps. And actually, if you guys want to get on the server, I feel like to just like switch up the visual here of me and Snail's face, like, and to wake people up. I'm gonna go into and actually look at these, and we can actually point to stuff on these maps. So this next segment is called Odd Map Out, and I don't have a graphic for it because I'm lazy. But we're gonna go look at some of the less played maps of Insurgency. Talk about why we think they're underplayed, why they're not so popular, and whether or not they actually are bad or not. So let's do it. I'm on Chai 4, or Texas 4. Texas is the new Chai. I don't know which Texas 4.
I was thinking about this. Maybe the old Chai servers, Chai stood for China, and that's why the hit registration was.
Yeah, that's what I always assumed it was. Oh, man, I don't have my gaming mouse plugged in. Salt incoming.
Salt incoming. All right. Ooh, it's perfect. It's on Siege. I feel like this is even somehow more played than like Heights at this point.
Yeah, even though it's objectively worse.
Yeah, I would say so. This in some ways
Don't
this is my favorite.
let Australia hear us.
Honestly, in some ways this is my favorite map, but even I would admit that it's like.
No, I know exactly what you mean by that.
Siege I think if A and C were on the other side of the street, this map would be totally fine.
Siege is cool because it forces security to kind of do like an execute strat. Like it really forces like if you want to play it at all, you have to do this kind of like really. It feels like an execute, you know, like
it does feel
like from Counter-Strike. But after a while, like I just stopped liking it because I don't want to have to do an execute to play the map. Like the execute, like this is the thing that you have to do to start playing the map. So that's why I don't like it.
It's interesting. This is the only map where you actually stand zero chance if you don't come up with a strategy and a setup and everybody doesn't have a job and a role. Like on security is so much like more imbalanced than Insurgent that it really does like the absolute only thing you can do is like get off of your lazy ass and like come up with a plan. And in that respect, I really love it. But at the same time, it's like it sucks because you're gonna lose rounds to just like random things that you can't control.
Yeah. So Quaker says, imagine if the street was a third of the width. Now people recognize the fact that the cross pick and the street cross is like kind of what makes it bad, but I think it's more than that. If you look at the way the objectives are laid out, of course they're all across the street that is just really open and scary to cross and really risky to cross. But also, like, if you look at all the other maps we have, I think the red point and B are kind of more comparable in distance and like the routing to them. I don't know, maybe not, but I think that also has some effect on it.
The big challenge that I always have with this map is that to do anything, you have to cross the street. Right? Like, if Market has a similar, like, obviously on Market, the street, it's a little bit more narrow. There's a little bit more cover. But the cross pick spots are probably better, especially for insurgents, right? Like, but the thing is on Market, like, you can win the game without crossing the street, right? Like, if I'm on insurgents, I can just play from my side of the street. I can push Barber and I can win. Like, that's not an option here. You can't do that. You have to cross the street to do anything. Even if you push 5 people through Darkroom and try to take C, you still have to cross the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always. So
it's the opposite of Ministry. I just realized.
Have you guys ever played like Old Contact when it was?
I think like the night map. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was this map where the objectives were different. A was the building to your right. Yeah, this one. And
A's
C,
like in security spawn, right?
Yeah.
I just realized though. Okay, if you could measure the amount of risk you have to invest to play in to get to the objective, I think this is something worth measuring when you're making a competitive map. So Siege is like on this end of the spectrum. Okay, it's super risky to play any objectives at all, and I think that is, you know, part of why Siege is the way it is. Now, Ministry is on this opposite end. You know, maybe say District's in the middle. You know, without actually thinking about it, I'm just gonna, you know, throw any of the other maps are somewhere in between this spectrum, because Ministry, you can get on any objective in the game without having any risk. Like, you can go tons to B on Ministry. You can get on A from either side, and you can get on C from either side, and you might not even see an enemy, except for like on B. On A, definitely, both teams can get on A, and there's not even a chance you'll see an enemy. So it's completely free to get on all the objectives at the beginning of the round, and I think that creates problems. And it's a totally different problem on Siege, where it's super, super risky, and you sometimes just die just trying to run to the objective at all, like any of the objectives, even your own objective. So it's interesting, though, that we play both of the maps. Like, we've had seasons where we play both maps, and I think it just shows how cool this game is, that people can adapt still to like such a crazy difference in like map design.
Yeah, like Siege, I think if you just lined the objectives up across the middle and like the insurgent spawn was on the other side of the street or something, like that would be a good map.
Yeah, actually, what it was Outlaw's right. A was in Dark Room. It was Dark Room, and then
and security spawn was over by A, right?
Yeah. Security spawn that was like opened up in the back. You would like run through an extra room in the back of this
Contact
building.
is much better than Siege.
B was in the middle of the crater in the middle, with like a little. It was pretty hard to cap, but you could cap behind some barriers and stuff. And the red truck, and like there were actually spots to cap it from. And then B was Insurgent's objective or security objective or something. It was like where B is now, and
it's no, Snailman. Capping B would be super easy. Your whole team would just take 2 flashbangs and you just throw them on 3-second intervals for 30 seconds.
Yeah,
you could do that. I mean, you could cap it. It was a night map. It was the first night map. It wasn't even like dark the way the night maps are now.
I would actually. I think that would be. It would be really interesting to play like old Contact. I think it would. I think it would solve a lot of the problems that Siege has. To be honest with you, just because just crossing the street is just a huge issue. It's even an issue for Insurgents. It's just not as bad.
And once you cross the street, guess what you have? You have a mini street, which we call B Alley, which is just as open and hard to cross without utility.
Did you guys ever play the old Siege where like B was split? There were
it was half on each side of the street, right?
There were literally 2 independent zones that were both Bravo objective. It was so weird, and it was. I actually think it was better that way because security wasn't quite as much of a disadvantage. They could actually take one side of it fairly decently, and you'd get these like really weird stalemates. They were so weird. But it would buy time for your people on Darkroom side to actually do stuff. So it was pretty interesting. I think it was a little bit better. Like, as it stands now, it feels like so linear because Insurgents have this huge timing advantage. And if you don't use your timing advantage to get in B and start capping it, you've like wasted all of your you've kind of, what are you doing? Like, you're never going to get that big an advantage ever again. So if you don't take it, then you're doing something horribly wrong. And so then like every round is just like Insurgents run to C, and then they just have to like not let the house of cards fall apart, or they run to B or whatever. So anyway,
that's Siege.
That's Siege.
If someone knows. Outlawed, can we have old Contact, please?
Well, if somebody wants to go like map it and make a day version of that, I mean, it's kind of my wet dream.
Who wants to talk about Heights?
Day version of old Contact. Yeah, Heights is awesome. I really would like people to start pugging on this again.
All right, Snailman, I'm gonna spectate you.
Oh, you want me to run around? Let's do it.
Just talk about Heights for 5 minutes.
For 5 minutes?
What do you like? Was that low or high?
What do you think the problem that people have with Heights is? I think the problem with Siege is super obvious.
Okay. Yeah. I think. Yeah. So the problem people have with Heights is that I think they feel like they're getting killed from really far away, and they like don't know how to call it out, and that's not very interesting or fun. Like, there's a lot of open space, and there's the middle of the map's kind of a valley. Yeah, we can definitely talk about bullet spread, but like the edges of the map there's these hills, And so there's lots of like positions where you can get long sight lines into all sorts of other parts of the map, and people don't know where they're getting killed from because you need a lot of map knowledge to sort of understand what's going on. It feels very open as well, even though there's like a lot of buildings and stuff. Like, there's a lot of stuff on this map. I think the one just like really big brick of a problem for this is that security can't get, like, they can't cross safely to their home objective, and they have to. So kind of like Ministry, where like security has to defend A and they have to dedicate a player here. It's that, but they also sometimes just die for free, like Siege, which is really lame. But at the same time, there's lots of stuff you can do from A to actually like be helpful for your team. I learned this spot from Whisper, watching a demo of him. People thought he was like cheating, but there's lots of like using your map knowledge and using like all of the cover and all of the different angles that the parts of the map give you. Like I like being back here and looking over that. There's like a lot of really, you can get really creative with navigating the map and figuring out how to it just felt like I don't know, I just always felt like I was doing better than other people on this map because I like was creative about how I was moving around, and I could sort of more correctly evaluate where people were going to be and what the different important parts of the map were.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about Heights is like it is a big map, but it doesn't feel like it's too big. Like, I know that's super vague, but like it doesn't feel too big. Like it's not like you're running for hours between points or something, which can happen on like New Contact, for example, or sometimes it feels like that on Embassy.
Yeah, B and C on Heights are like maybe the two closest objectives in any map. Like you're on B here, and like 5 or 6 second run, and you're in C. And like District is twice that.
Yeah, well, you know, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's probably the one of the shortest rotations between objectives, except for if you fall down the elevator.
Right. Yeah, or like maybe Uprising A to B is pretty short. But
what I will say is, I actually think the B objective on Heights is good, and what I mean by that is like it has enough cover without being cluttered. Like I think Ministry falls into this trap a little bit. Market definitely falls into this trap. District falls into it. Like there's just too much clutter, and like Heights, it feels like there are enough places to hide where you're not super predictable, but it's also not like super cluttered and overburdened with crap.
Absolutely, it's a risk to be capping B on this map.
Like I always wanted to see like what if Ministry B just looked like Heights B instead? Like what would that be? I think that'd be interesting.
Trying to run around to all the different spots to cap B from. Actually, this bush isn't even that bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem people have with Heights is like security can get cross-picked going to both side objectives.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of really like weird, obnoxious cross-picks, right? Like
Insurgents can get cross-picked leaving their spawn.
You can
well, both teams can actually.
You can cross-pick to people running to C, and you can cross-pick, obviously cross-pick the people running to A, and then like there's these really ridiculous cross-picks where like you prone and like here you shoot at like a tree and it goes wait, that's not
you go to the next hump to the left and then you
it's
shoot
this one.
the other spawn.
You can shoot like this way or something. Yeah, you can shoot into the river at people like running. Like I've died like here.
What do you guys
running
think
out of spawn
in
before.
theory end game, if this map was played more, would be the case for flashbangs? Do you think flashbangs would become a problem for this map?
Flashbangs are
they're good on Seaside if you're pushing aggressively.
They're actually really good in general. One of the more effective things that's ever happened to me in a pug is I think Tarpon was throwing really effective flashbangs as security down the river, and I was trying to like hold it and stop him from making a big flank, and he was blinding me every time. He was throwing a really good one, and he was getting like a lot of really good flanks through the river onto B. He was dominating.
I think it's more. I think it's more really of a problem. I just would anticipate seeing a lot of flashbangs on this map.
Right,
just
it's pretty open. There's not a lot of.
You throw it up in the air and it just AOE blinds everything like in a huge radius.
Yeah, I think the thing that protects against that though is like on this map, if you're gonna throw a flashbang like and push down the river, like a lot of guys won't really get flashed by it because they can sit so far
That's
away.
true.
Right.
It's
There's
bigger.
Right,
enough-
like
It's
yeah.
like big
And that's
stations,
actually-
how I've always thought about this map.
Right, and that's actually one thing that kind of like that's a thing that if you played a lot of pugs on this map, I could see it being somewhat frustrating because like I will play full honesty, like when I'm on Insurgents, I'll just play the entire round on the hill behind C house. Like I'll never cross the river at all. Like you can do things like that on this map, and if you don't like think about it or rotate soon enough or move forward, like you can see a lot from those positions, but you can also it can be frustrating to play this map if there's always one guy alive and the round goes to time every time because he's crouch walking up tank hill or something.
Right. But it's actually there's a lot of good pre-nades. Like the actual map control, I think it's a good map. I honestly think
I
this
do
is a
too, yeah.
good map.
Yeah, this
I mean,
is,
what does
this-
chat think like the big problem with this map is? I guess like
This
I know
is-
we don't play it. Is it? I know for a while it was the whole config thing, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, people think that okay, so this is one of the big complaints. Like you can see so much more easily with config stuff. I've actually so Outlaw's turned off the fog on all the ESGL servers, and I've actually kind of like changed my opinion on fog. I actually on station in particular, I have a harder time seeing people with the fog off because the fog creates like a weird silhouette effect on players, and I cannot see people see rock if there's no fog. And I can when there is a fog. And part of that's because I'm used to it. Like I've spent, 2,000 hours like getting used to seeing people and they have a silhouette against the fog and stuff. Like the render distance isn't changed and you can technically like see further, but it's actually very hard to see people against a non-white background. And the fog provides the white background for which to see people. So I think that, I don't know, when I went from having no config to having one, I didn't notice like being able to see people more easily on this map.
It's kind of like the
Yeah, I think-
PUBG smoke glitch. Have you guys seen that? If you
No.
throw a smoke really close to yourself and get it in it, and you look at a distant smoke, it cancels out. You can see the player silhouettes. Like if an opponent is using a smoke far away, you can like throw a smoke down and get into it, and then you see their silhouette. Like even if they're behind a smoke that's like close to them. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I would like to see this map played more. I think like the spawn pre-fires like could technically be an issue, but I also think like on this map it doesn't really cost you anything to just wait in your spawn for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And then
also-
you just throw their timing off completely.
Well, okay, so we play Station, right? Station also has really egregious cross picks, and everybody learns to deal with that.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like you just
lot
don't
of
leave
maps-
spawn on security. It's fine.
A lot of maps have like really kind of like unconventional cross pick type things that exist. Like Market has them, right? You have to learn how to cross. Like I had to teach everybody on my team, Snail Squad, like how to cross the street on Market because there is like there are places you want to slide at this point. You want to be going directly parallel to the sniper at this moment. Like to run to C-Rock on Station, you want to run this way and slide at this moment and like change direction at this time. And like people get okay with that. On this map, you run out of spawn, you jump, you run on the left side of the river. You like this like avoids all the pre-fire. You're not getting slowed down by the river, and then like I guess you're at risk right there, but it's really low opportunity. And like
Yeah, and I'm just thinking
kinda
like
get used to it, right?
I think too, like just playing around with timings is a good thing to do, and like it doesn't really cost you that much. I don't
Right.
think.
If you're running to C,
You know,
don't just
like-
run in the middle of the road. You run.
It feels a lot worse to get
This
cross picked coming out of your spawn than it does to get cross picked running out of Barber on District, but effectively it's the exact same thing. The same thing happened. You know. And people are totally fine with taking the slow way to avoid the cross picks coming out of Barber, but for some reason they're like not okay with it when they're leaving their spawn. It doesn't make any sense if you think about it. So I just don't think it's that big of an issue, to be honest.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's like that's an annoying thing that will exist. And, like people have figured out these really like crazy spawn pre-fires, right? Like you come to this spot here and you prone and you shoot like that or something, and it like goes. Oh, it leave a little bit more. I don't know, but you can like shoot here and like kill people. But how do you stop that from happening? As an insurgent, you just run out this part of your spawn
Or just
and you
slide
go over
through
this hump,
hitbox.
and then you like slide. And it's the same thing. It doesn't slow you down. It's just like it's just annoying that you have to do it, but you get used to it.
Yeah, I'll just say I agree, and I think this is the map I would be most willing to try out of the maps that are underplayed.
I
This
mean,
is
I
my
played
favorite
Sinjar today.
odd map.
I had a great time.
You guys want to talk about Sinjar?
We could look
Yeah.
at it. I don't know if it's any good, but I had fun.
All right.
Anyway, you can actually move around a lot on heights, and there's a lot of angles. That's the thing. It's like it's Station on steroids, right? Like
Station and Embassy had a baby.
yeah, there's a lot of open space, and in some ways that's good. Other ways it's like creates an enormous knowledge gap.
Kisses your
where-
turn.
Oh,
get
really?
rewarded.
All
I'm
right. Yeah.
expecting
So
you.
I played Sinjar for like the
I've
first
never
time
played
today.
this map.
All right. So
Alright.
for people who don't know, can we just go through the objectives, maybe?
Yeah, you want to go look at them? Or pull them up on
Anthony
the
made a
map,
callouts
maybe,
video
James?
for this map, so I'm
Yeah, Function taught me
assuming he liked
callouts
it.
on Sinjar today. So
Wow.
Thanks,
I haven't
Function.
played this in a tournament or a pug even in a very long time.
Is it
So, like,
is it less
C-
balanced than Station?
I have no idea. I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I honestly couldn't tell you. So what's really what's unfair is if insurgents can literally go right here. I did this today, and
Oh.
security spawns down at the bottom of this hill. So if you, what's really interesting, what I had a lot of success with was just getting up here, and you basically cut off all of their guys going to A. They just can't go to A anymore. So the spawn camp is really egregious. You can get to here basically. But
I've played this map. I don't think it's that great, but I actually don't know who's favored.
so one thing I noticed about this map, and so I have zero experience with it basically, but is the points seem to be really far apart. C is way down here. It's a pretty long way to B, and then it's a really long way to A. So the rotations seem to be pretty long. I don't know exactly what was happening, but when we were on Insurgents, we would win the B fight and then come over this hill and shoot the guy running into C. So the timings are seem to be pretty long. There's not a ton of cover, right? If I'm a security guy who's trying to push to cap C, what do I hide? Where do I hide here? You know what I mean? Even if I run at the bottom of this hill, I have to cross this street here. So I think that could be potentially problematic. I noticed the same thing on the other side here. If you want to push up here to try to get into A, or you want to cross this, how do you cross this open ground?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of a challenge. And what I had a lot of trouble with was I think there are some cool angles down here that are fun that I was playing. This one was kind of fun. And there's this cool wall here that you can stand behind. But when it comes time to actually go to B from where you're at, where do you go? You know what I mean? Do you rotate all the way back to your spawn? The rotations are really difficult. So
Yeah.
it feels you'd kind of end up with a weird 1v1, 3v3, 1v1 sort of setup. And if you lost one of your lanes, or if you lost B, you'd be in a really bad spot. But it's kind of interesting, I think. I don't know. I would be willing to give it another shot. It was kind of fun. But even here, right? I'm in this hotel, I'm in this building, or I'm in this building over
Yeah.
here. I go to push to B, I got to cross a bunch of open area with no cover on it. So the B
Yeah.
building is kind of interesting. It is 2 stories, which is somewhat problematic. But all of the walls, people play in this corner a lot, and my team is complaining about it. But all these walls are paper thin. I think this would be kind of interesting. You know what I mean? I feel the B house would be kind of cool. I don't know. I would be willing to give it a shot again.
Yeah,
I
it seems
think-
like the rotates
Yeah.
are pretty much not possible if whatever team is up on the top hill dedicates a player to stopping it, because you have so much Overwatch potential and there's no safe routing. I think it's just a routing problem, kind of like Pange. It's kind of like Pange. It might be worse than Pange though, because Pange has those trenches, right?
Those don't.
I would be happy to
Handle
play a
walls.
game on Pange. Infinity told me it's terrible, and I trust his judgment. But I would like to play a game on Pange sometime.
I've done it a few times. It felt like the problems you would think are the problems.
Yeah.
But
So I don't know. This map seems like it would be kind of interesting. This, it's kind of weird that the objectives are here, here, and here, and it's all open, and then over on the insurgent side of the map, there's all this cover and stuff. That feels kind of weird to me. You know what I mean? It's we're not really using the map. It feels like. And you've got some really weird kind of bad timings. These guys get here at the same time that insurgents can be over here. So you have this really long cross pick battle that can happen.
That's just
but
an
like you
RNG
can,
fight.
yeah, it is.
I don't even think a sniper rifle would be accurate enough.
Did you talk about
Yeah, well,
accuracy?
so we actually, I mean, what was interesting, Snailman, is we actually had people using snipers and they were actually good. Like a 7x scope was actually useful. I took a 4x scope and got like a bunch of kills because like it was actually good. It was kind of interesting.
I've done it on heights before. We took a sniper and a C79 scope, like a assault rifle, to have like a couple of snipers, but it's probably unnecessary on heights. But I don't know. This map could be. It's so open.
Yeah, that's the real. I think that's the real issue it has. It's just like the rotations are just so bad. Like you basically, if you're coming to try to rotate B and you get shot at, you just prone and hope they miss and hope you can kill them. Like that's your only hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think that this would be really tough to play in a pug setting where you can't count on people to take the risks that they might need to take.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it feels to me like probably what would happen is it would end up being a lot of focus around B, and like you may just not even send anyone to your point, or or this guy would have to be really smart about it. Like in the pug, we had a lot of like sniper duels happening over here that didn't really need to happen. Like you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It would be interesting. Like I feel like you'd get a lot of like 4 versus 4 at B kind of things, and then like the losing team would try to like slide out and get a point, and it would probably turn a lot into like, okay, we kept B, but they kept A, and now we're spawn camping, which could probably leave a bad taste in people's mouths. But
you can probably just defend the radio objective from that one that you're looking at, from the like broken building, the castle or whatever.
This construction or whatever.
Yeah, like you probably don't even need to like ever go over by. That's A, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Like, well, I'm thinking like they can get into A through this door here, I think. So like this is probably like you probably come up here somehow. I don't know if you can. The one thing that's really bad about this map is like the lanes on spawn are really bad and the hills are really janky. Yeah, so like this is really bad that you have to do. Like if you could find a safe way to get here, like this guy, this would probably be your A player, and he would probably just like hold this angle here, would be my guess.
Right, because then you're at least like you have a safe rotate towards Bravo.
Yeah, but like so like we'll give people like you spawn here, and to get to B, like the fastest way we found is you run like this up these stairs, and then you turn back. You know what I mean? Like it's just ridiculously long.
Yeah. So I guess
it's.
Stuff Shark, I think, was saying like this is not really. He's saying that this map wasn't ever really made to play competitively, and it was like an old map from from the original game that got ported. But
dude, let's look at Peak.
Maybe. I think it's a routing problem. We could if we could like try to wrap up why this map has the biggest problem is probably the routing. But maybe it could create some interesting strategy with snipers and stuff. But I kind of. Just looking at it, I've never really played Firefight on it that much, but it just seems like rotating is not optimal to do, and that would probably just create like a really important early game cross-pick battle, and then after that, it's just sort of not much.
Yeah, I don't even know if it would be a cross-pick battle as much, Jems, like, because you can get to B without getting cross-picked. I think it would just be like whoever wins B would get map control, and then the other team would have to fight out of their spawn every round.
Yeah.
But this is really like this building is really interesting because all these walls are paper thin. So like it is, I think it is kind of cool. Like that to me could be kind of cool, and you can shoot through the floor too. Like I feel like there would be a lot of really interesting things happening here.
Yeah, Quaker on the point of it probably being just heavy B centric map is like, do we want to play Firefight or do we want to play Occupy? Because if it's just all right, everybody crash B, that's kind of Occupy.
I mean that's how District works.
Yeah,
that's how Market works.
Yeah, Market.
That's how Station more or less works. Like all the Firefight maps are basically crash B.
Yeah.
You dedicate as few resources to the outside as you can, unless you're going for a strategy specific to capture
to rotate and
actually, Snailman on this map, AC strategies would probably be really good.
Yeah, you can actually get into C from under the bridge, so you never have to cross that open thing. But I don't even know if you could.
If you send everyone over there, you'll have enough smokes.
Like. Insurgents could probably defend C with like a guy or two and just send the rest to A and then just spawn camp.
Interesting.
I don't know. It'd be interesting. Yeah.
This is their spawn. Map. What's the only other map? It's not going to be an exhaustive discussion, but we've got Uprising. Someone said Candagal in chat. What else is there? That's.
I don't think I've ever looked at Candigal Firefight.
I think Canagal aesthetically seems cool.
We should look at Canagal. I've never played Pug on Canagal. I've tried to get people to do it. So Pange is basically the same problem that Sinjar has. Like, and I would
there's
say
less
I
building.
think Pange is actually more likely to be viable because there are walls.
Pange has awesome objectives.
The objectives are actually all really good.
Pange has really good objectives.
But
bad everything else.
It has the same problem of like, okay, somebody's gone to this side of the map and they need to not be there anymore. Like, that's sucks to suck.
Dude, Pange needs tunnels like Revolt does. That's what they need.
Oh,
Where's Vinny?
No.
Vinny wants to play Revolt.
Revolt. We don't play Revolt simply because it was bugged. And
Right. It was bugged.
So like for a really long time, it was just very bugged, and we just couldn't play it. It used to be one of the maps.
All right. So at first glance,
the very
this map
first
is
thing,
huge.
Yeah,
It's
and then the first thing, I always look at the objectives first. Whatever objective I'm sitting on right now, what's this one?
B.
Yeah, B. Well, first of all, same problem. Getting to it is super risky.
Is it 2 stories?
And
one team gets there for free.
I'm pretty sure,
also,
right,
the farm.
you can. Someone want to get on Insurgent and actually start the round so we can see where the points are.
Actually.
But like, I'm pretty sure you can cap it like outside of it and inside of it and upstairs and downstairs. It's just.
Yeah,
it's
you
just
can.
huge
One team
and
can never get there.
It's retarded.
It doesn't matter though, because one team can't ever be there. But you would have horrible stalemates on this objective.
I like the way this map looks, though. It is foggy, but it's. I want to know the lore. What's the lore of Canagal?
Do you want me to change them?
Oh, I'll just kill myself.
No, I got it.
I don't know why it won't start. I guess
It's.
Oh, gotcha. You did some stuff.
I did the thing.
Oh, an American flag. I like that.
Let's just do pugs on.
So where you were,
non-regular
Jems,
maps.
that was A.
I've played a good amount of skirmish on this map, and I kind of like.
okay.
I kind of like the angles and like the firefights that happen.
Yeah, the map. But I wonder if there were less players, if it would be too small or too big. I mean. I like the C objective. I've played it on the C objective on skirmish before. It's fun.
A
Yeah, the
is
city is
tiny,
cool.
right? A is just this.
Yeah, it's just that.
Yeah, that's
I don't have a
interesting.
problem with that. I think objectives are too big.
I think
normally.
I gotta give props.
Yeah,
to, like,
I'm capping
map
B like
designers.
right outside.
Like, there's got to be a conscious choice. Like, oh, what if B's like this big compound and then A's just this tiny little hallway? Like, oh,
Yeah,
that's like,
so the
oh, let's do
entire
it. Yeah, I
compound is
like the
B.
creativity, but
I wonder what the process was, because this is one of the game banana.
like, look, I'm on B right here. Like,
You're
Yeah.
inside the.
Anything inside the
I'm right here.
wall is in B.
I'm like outside pretty much the wall, and I'm on it.
Can't find you.
Look at it.
Jim.
Oh, dude,
Where are you?
right
Oh,
here.
you're
I'm on it.
actually-
I'm on it.
You should. I mean, we could
What
run
a
around
spot,
and like
gem
look
spot,
for
alright.
look for crevices in the wall where maybe you could cap, because there could be one.
So
Oh man, shout out to District Charlie wall spot. Those are the days. Remember that?
Okay.
Kisses?
Yeah.
So it's a multi-floor objective. At the very least, the only consolation, and there's 2 ways to get from upstairs to downstairs. And the stairway is part of the objective, so you know it's not a completely damning thing. But I think it's really hard to have a multi-level objective. But the fact
It
that there's
is.
2 ways up and down helps a lot. So
Yeah.
I'd be interested to
Alright.
play it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. If you look, see the bridge to your left, like behind you, Gems. This bridge. So security basically runs from the river behind that to B, and insurgents have to run the other side. So security gets this bridge basically, and they get to just shoot at insurgents trying to
Oh,
cross.
so the security gets
Yeah.
across the bridge, basically.
Security just gets behind it. They just get crossed behind it for free.
Got it.
And
Oh man,
and
some
then
nutty angles.
also there's like a little bit of a ruinous compound on the city side of the bridge that has angles, and you can just see all the way across the river. And then the river like really
Slows you
bricks,
down.
and it bricks all your smokes.
Yep.
Oh, can I jump on the tire and launch 20 feet up?
So the strategy is smoke grenade launchers at the rocks, basically, is your only hope.
Yeah, you have to get.
They would
some kind
air
of little
burst
island
them.
thing.
I think
Or
I-
if you hit the rock with a smoke grenade launcher, it would air burst the smoke.
I think I like C. Yeah, I like C.
I do too. Yeah, I think
it's
the map
all
is
this
too big.
it's all this courtyard and this interior.
What if B was just on the end of the bridge, like instead of across the
I
river?
kind of think A and C points. I think you can be a little more flexible with what they look like when it's a map that like is B centric, but this map I don't feel like it would be that B centric. You know?
Yeah, I don't know.
It can't be one team just.
What if this was B? I don't know if it's in the middle or not, but this like random house here.
It's not. That's security side.
Right,
The bridge kind of is the, like it has to be on the insurgent side
What's
of the
this
bridge for it
building
to be in the
called?
middle.
Teal?
So like, I mean, there's no call-outs you're gonna play. The building that you're at now, Kisses, could like something here.
Could be a B.
Could
point.
be like the little this thing, like I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, like this here.
Yeah, this could be it, I guess. I don't know, or the gas, like something.
This broken gas station.
The
Yeah,
gas
like
station could be or something.
interesting. All right. I don't know. Yeah, I mean that. I guess it feels like it's better than Siege at least with the river, right? Like you wouldn't die as much crossing probably if it was even. But you're saying security gets to set up, so it's a lot harder. But
yeah, security gets to. So if you go behind, like to behind you, no, the security side of. Oh shit.
yeah, that's fine.
Did I kill it?
Here, I'll show you. No, I'll show you.
I'll go to spectators.
So like, security can be like. Where is it? There's like some spot you can get like in this. You can like get on this shit or something. And like, yeah, so you can just like be here as security. And like,
and no one can get you from the side, really.
yeah, because that's not the like middle of the map or whatever. And you can like get out here and like prone if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And you can get
really
here
open.
before like you can see them over there.
Right.
Like,
So if
it's not
security
like
wasn't able to get on the bridge, it would probably be okay. But since they can,
yeah, if this
Interesting.
bridge was like here or something and actually split the middle, and then the B building honestly needs to be like further over because it's just not. It's shaded so far towards security spawn, even though it's really far away. Like it's just so much quicker to get to B. Insurgents are like, even if they cross as fast as they can, they're like here.
so insurgents would be forced to play AC basically,
I think
or
so.
try to sneak B later in the round.
Yeah, so I always wanted to play it, especially back like when I thought. So we talked about how I kind of like Siege. I have like a secret liking of it. Back when I was less convinced that it was still terrible, despite how much I liked that, I wanted to play this map because I thought it would be somewhat similar in the sense that like it's so bad that you would have to have a plan and execute the plan. But I don't know, I'm pretty convinced that that's not what you want.
I don't know. What other
Probably
map?
Prospect here too.
I don't want to look at Uprising.
You don't want to look at Uprising? Okay.
No, I actually don't know.
We
if
could
Uprising is
we
bad
could
or
go
not.
to the next topic. I don't know if
We
there's
could.
any other maps.
I mean, it's kind of bad to not talk about Uprising.
well, yeah.
Well,
So
okay, so
thing
what
is
is the
like-
problem with Uprising?
People have all sorts of reasons. They're like, it's small, it's dark, it's chaos. I think that it's a 4v4 map. It's the best thing I can say.
I like Uprising, but I don't like the lighting on it. It's just hard to see.
It's dark. I
I
actually
think the
there's
problem
eyes.
the problem with Uprising is that because it's so small and it's not figured out, it's like people don't have fun just getting flanked and shot in the back, right? And because Uprising is small but not figured out, like that's liable to happen a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Like if Uprising was figured out and we knew all the lanes to cover and all those kind of things, I think it would be better. Or people would like it better.
Probably. There's also a lot of like flashes and stuff. So Uprising, you can. The unique thing is that the red points are wrong. Like
Right.
we talked earlier about how it's so interesting that Firefight can have like the maps can all have these different personalities where how to play them is just so different. Like this map is all B and you ignore the flank and like you focus on these early fights and blah blah blah. This map, Uprising, the weird thing, it's like weird personality is that A is actually the insurgent objective, but security starts with it, and vice versa. C is actually the security objective, but insurgents start with control of it.
Yeah. Like both teams are expected to get like a cap. Basically.
Right. And I really like. I don't know. I think this map is pretty good, honestly.
Yeah, I guess I think my problem with like, and I'm kind of like a hypocrite on this. Like, I do think it's good to play a bunch of new maps. Like, I would be a big fan of that. My problem with these maps is because when people don't, like, for me, when it's not figured out, at least to some degree, like, it's not fun. Like, it's not fun to just be in total chaos. And these maps, like, no one has played them enough, and no one has invested time in learning what works and what doesn't. So it's just not fun. Like, you don't, like, just because you find a timing that, or the other team doesn't know how to play the map, and therefore you just run through and kill them, like, that's not interesting. And I think, like, the part of the problem was, like, as a leagues, we didn't do a good job of, like, forcing people to learn new things. Like, people just complained about playing Heights or whatever and said, I want to play District and Ministry and Market, and that's it. And we're like, okay, fine. God forbid.
I remember playing Uprising in, like, actually my first DGL match ever was Uprising.
Yeah, we did. So Uprising was an official map in one of the seasons. I forget. We played some team called Gaben's Revenge 4v5, and Torix had the worst spray I've ever seen anyone attempt in my entire life. He whiffed on a guy and we lost a round. So I'll never forget.
All right.
the worst.
Now I just want to look at every map. Like, I want to look at Dry Canal and
Well,
Peak.
let's go to a map that we know a lot about.
All right.
And
this map's good. I know a lot about this map. This map's just
I think it's good. I think it's fine. I think it's good.
All right. But let's do whose lane is it anyway? You guys down?
Sure, we can do that.
Unless you want to do sick of it.
Workshop for Embassy. You want to do whose lane for Embassy?
There's 3 things
you know what
left
I'm
we
sick
could
of?
talk about.
Embassy.
I want to wrap this up in the next 30 minutes, but
Okay.
we could talk about what we're sick of. We could talk about.
Let's do whose lane.
We'll do whose lane, or we could also talk about bullet spread real quick if you wanted to do that real quick. Snailman.
Bullet spread, not a thing you need to worry about on this map.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, not on this map.
It's a bad map to talk about it on.
Go to Embassy and then do it then.
All right.
Yeah, sure.
Map.
We can talk about bullet spread. I'll just start talking about it right now.
Should we talk about
guns?
Should we workshop Embassy or should we workshop Station?
Well, Quaker asked for
Embassy. All right.
Oh, workshop for Uprising like was done for Embassy. Yeah, well, I can do that.
You want to talk about B House on Station?
We could.
We should crowdsource it to the chat. What
Chat, what do you want us to talk about?
Station
while we're waiting
Embassy. Which one do you want to learn about?
Yeah.
And if you have a lane in particular or something.
All right, I brought you to a map that will be good for talking about bullet spread.
Okay, sounds good. So while we're waiting, or crowdsourcing that or whatever, Embassy or not Embassy, freaking bullet spread. Every gun. This is a thing that, like, people just don't realize exists. Is that guns have bullet spread? Where can I go? I need a wall.
Oh, that's a good point. What if you shoot sniper wall?
Sure, we'll do it from, like, here or something.
Ooh, I could even, like, zoom my spectator camera to your target to see it really up close. If you just
all right, we'll just shoot it.
Try to shoot that dot.
Okay. Yeah.
You see what I'm talking about? That square?
This one?
Little square dot?
There's
That
one.
one.
Yeah.
The big square dot?
Is there a corner I can sit in? Yeah, I can sit in this corner. Oh, but now the dot. No, the dot's still there. Never mind. Okay. So, if you shoot, I'm gonna try to shoot at the same dot like every time, and there's bullets aren't gonna go exactly like in the center of my gun. There's like a cone of fire. I'm gonna turn the SVE. I'm gonna turn it to a minute maybe, so that the red dots actually sit there for a little bit.
People know Station already, Stuff Shark. Okay. I guess we won't cover it. Everyone knows everything.
I'm shooting right in the middle of this dot, like, pretty much every time. And I'm not perfect, but, like... Bullet doesn't go.
Come on, Bullet.
It doesn't go in the same exact spot.
Oh, by the way, this segment, if I had made an intro for it, was... Where did my bullets go?
Where did my bullets go? Okay,
people
so...
say that.
I'm gonna switch to Insurgent. So there's a big difference, actually, between... just so we don't go out of warm-up mode there. There's actually a big difference. Like, the AKM has bigger bullet spread than the 74, for example.
Has more spread?
Yeah.
Than the 74,
which
right?
You might not
Wait,
think. Yeah.
Really?
Yes, it does. Well, it's according to
No wonder I'm insane with the 74. I was like, man, every time I pick this gun up, I'm just better.
My bullets are still all there, so I have to pick a different...
Okay. New dot.
a new dot to shoot at. Oh, somebody used the other dot. All right, I'm shooting at this one over here. It's a little bit further away, but you already see like one of my bullets went like way far off to the side. And I'm aiming right in the middle. Like,
yeah, I mean you can see it especially with the pistol.
yeah. So the AK, like
here, JeMs, I'm gonna shoot this white dot in front of me. Ready?
Yeah. Oh, gross. Ugh.
So
right, like that's your pistol spread. I hit the white dot once.
All right, now try a
okay,
shotgun.
so this almost doesn't matter. Like most of the guns, really, the shortcut in your brain shouldn't be like, oh, the AKM has a little bit more bullet spread and blah blah blah. Like it does matter sometimes. When I'm playing Ministry B specifically, like that's actually really far away. So I probably take the SKS. Like you can look these all up. This is one of the things Jared Balu's stats parser shows accurately is the bullet spread, and it fluctuates about like I don't know really what the numbers mean, but the SKS is 0.16 bullet spread, or maybe it's 0.18 or something, and the AKM is 0.22. The big thing is that the pistols and any gun that shoots pistol ammo, like an MP5 or a UMP or an MP40, which shoot pistol ammo, have actually substantially higher bullet spread. And so those guns don't go where you shoot. So like if you take a UMP and you're like tap firing at somebody across the map and it doesn't hit, that's because you're dumb. And you need to spray, and you should use a different gun.
That's bullet spread.
That's bullet spread. Like,
cool.
Almost never does it factor into my decision making, but it does exist.
Yeah.
So.
Like I will not take fights that I don't think I can win. Like I won't fight apartments with a pistol from balcony, for example. I won't do it. The low percentage play.
Why talk about it? Because I see people like trying to precise aim with MP5s and with pistols and stuff, and I wish they wouldn't. The bullet doesn't go where it's just random. Every bullet has a slight random thing added to it.
Yeah, show MP5.
Yeah, well, and also you talk about it too because people say, "How could I have possibly missed this guy?" Well, it's because you're using an MP5, and you're trying to hit him in the head, and you can only see the top of his head, and the MP5 is not that accurate.
Right.
So that's why.
Oh, I can't even. Okay.
Oh my god. That's why it's got a circle for the reticle.
Yeah, it basically is going to go in the middle half of the circle of the like sight.
Yeah.
But I'm aiming in the same spot.
Okay, it's cool to visualize that the middle half. If it was like if that circle was a target, like the middle half of it would be definitely where the bullet's gonna go. All right, wow, that's a lot of spread.
I don't know. They have spread. Like, pick which fights you take. Pick the gun for the fights on a map. If we start playing a map like Heights, I might take an L1A1. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if that's the right decision to make, but generally speaking, as the higher caliber goes, the spread lowers as well. So
the guns are so balanced in this game. It's awesome.
The actual like sniper, basically shorthand is like actual sniper rifles have less spread, right? So the L1A1, the SKS, the EBR, and the security weapons, if the bullet shoots fast out of the gun in real life, it doesn't have as much spread in the game.
Yeah, well, so Finis, I don't think anyone's suggesting that like tap firing with an MP5 is good. It's like relevant because if you're trying to hit someone who's pixel peeking across embassy and you have an MP5, like you should know that your bullets aren't necessarily going where your crosshair is. So right. You're just rolling dice. You know what I mean? Your skill factors into it, but there's also just some amount of randomness, and you're just gonna get lucky or not, and that's what Snailman's talking about. Yeah, exactly. You don't take the fight. You're correct.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying.
But people don't think about this. I don't think, and that's why we're talking about it.
Right.
All right. Well, since Kisses, our head writer, is a special guest this week, and a couple people said they wanted to hear your thoughts on B House, and since Kissesandsparkle is pretty much who I would credit the resurrection of Heavy Armor 2 and playing B hardcore on station as being a viable strategy, and flashbangs being broken as hell on station, all of the above, I would probably attribute that mostly to Kisses popularizing it. You want to maybe just talk about some of your thoughts the value of playing B on this map, the problems with it, whatever you want to talk.
Yeah.
I'm gonna spec you.
Snailman is the problem, and Outlawed. If they didn't exist, it'd be great.
Wait,
yeah.
what?
So you and Outlawed are the problem with playing B House on Station. So I think the thing about B House is like, so I think if you were to do the timings perfectly, like there were no nades, security would get to B House first. But everyone knows security can't leave their spawn for the first 20 seconds of the round. And so insurgents can leverage that to just run through Cubby and get into B. And I think the reason that it's so good is like B is actually gives you a lot of cover. There's a lot of good things in the house that people don't think about that I guess I can talk about since Link's going to cancel all the source seasons now. And I think the thing that's really good about B House is like, or B in general, is there's very few ways to kill you when you're in there, and your team can really effectively cover them, right? Like everyone knows Shrine is a really good spot. Well, the way you can kill the B House guy is going B alley or dropping behind him off ridge. Like those are basically your options. And this guy can easily cover those things. And if you play a Stilts player, like he can easily cover tin. And so putting a guy in B House puts the enemy team on a timer, and it makes them do things that are not like good for them. Like it's really, really hard for them to kill you. They do not want to take fights against Shrine, but you force them to do it, right? Like the easy way to beat Tarpon is don't peek him. But if Tarpon's going to cap, team's going to cap B, now you have to. And I think that's the value of playing B. I mean, do you guys have anything more to add there from like the high level perspective?
No, I mean putting that team on a timer is absolutely important, right? Like,
Yeah.
You don't have to. It takes a long time to. Once you get a kill, like it opens up the map a little bit, and then you look for the next one and the next one, and it's a process. It's not just like, oh, I can just sprint here. Like, you're really limiting the options of the other team.
Yeah. So I guess from a B House perspective, like you can throw whatever nade you want. I take heavy armor, which I think is an important component of this. I think probably one of the most important things about playing B House is flashbangs. Like you kind of throw this flashbang from your spawn. You don't have to be very exact because flashbangs are OP, and it basically just blinds everyone on security if they're anywhere decent, and it just lets you run out of Cubby and get onto B.
Do you have a particular spot you're aiming for the flash? Because
let me give myself some more.
It blinds me when I'm in
actually,
the sniper hut. I don't like that.
That's what I'm gonna say. That's what I want to say. I don't think people, you don't have to be that exact, and that's fine. But I don't think people put enough effort into where they're throwing them because
it blinds the sniper hut. That's a lot better.
Yeah. So, when I play anyone else, I don't get blinded in sniper hut, and when I play you, I get blinded every time in sniper hut. So
this is back to what I was talking about in the beginning, right? Like I can tell you, hey Snailman, you should throw a flashbang. And like that's what I'll tell you if you ask me. But like when I was figuring this out, my brother actually helped me figure out a lot of this stuff. It was the same time that we found out the whole lean crouch peek thing. And what he helped me do is he was on security, and I was like, okay, now sit here. Okay, now sit here. Okay, now sit here. And we just figured out like what flashbang blinded everyone, and we're like, okay, well that's the one you throw. So I guess what I do is like I think one thing people do is they throw their flashbangs really high. I think like I see a lot of people throw them high. I think Sam, I saw you doing it the other day too, and I was like, I throw mine a lot lower. Like I put my B marker kind of like in the middle of this wall, or even on the low side of this wall, and it gets your flashbang to have a lot more distance. Is what I think is probably what's happening. So you wanted to
thinking about distance when I'm throwing it. You think I'm throwing too high still, so. It's good.
You know what I mean? Like I threw that one really low, but it blew up right here. Like that's actually good. Like that's gonna blind everyone that I care about probably. Mm-hmm. Whereas if I were to throw it like at the top of the wall, I don't know, I blinded myself. But that's much higher. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I aim when I throw my flashbang, I guess. There used to be a second flashbang that you threw over the house right here, but I can't afford it anymore. Thanks, Link. Okay, and then sorry, go ahead.
I think it's your own fault. You're the one who asks for like the Molotovs and some of the other things to be. I mean, you break a thing and we're gonna fix it, dude. I still can't do that.
So basically, what I've been doing a lot is getting baited by JeMs and running up ridge, which is a dumb thing to do.
I do it while sprinting.
You just run through here and you go into B. Basically, you can jump over this rock. What I'm looking for here is I'm actually looking here because you can see guys cross, and I try to call that out to my team. And then I look here, because if I don't see them here, I know they're either blue or garage. So I try to call that out to my team. Sometimes you can kill these guys here, but I don't always have the chance to do it. I used to get more than I do now.
Spam that pistol. Every time you're shooting at anyone, spam the pistol.
Yeah, so don't use a pistol. I just do it because I have bad habits. But like an AKM is probably better. I don't think being like marginally faster is good. Maybe an AKM is bad if you're playing on this barrel. We can talk about that later. So we haven't gotten to B yet, but effectively you just run into B house and you just sit on the barrel and you're invincible and it's OP. What you can do though, because people will like throw nades and stuff, what I like to do sometimes is tap it and then jump onto this and then jump here and lean peek and kill them in their spawn. So I think this spot is pretty good. Like you are kind of exposed, but I don't think people expect it. This is why having an AKM is better because look how inaccurate my gun is when I shoot.
Right.
But that I think is really good. Another thing that I'll call out when you're outside of B hut, and I see Finesse do this, like it's really smart. You don't do it early in the round, but a lot of times when you're fighting on B, you just prone, and it gives you angles that you wouldn't have otherwise. And I think that's really powerful. So like there's a lot of times you like kill a guy here, you're blocked, you just sprint off B, you prone, and you can shoot him. So I don't really play on the dock that much on Insurgents just because I don't feel like it's that good. And the reason I wear heavy armor is because I want to play in this house. So the reason you're wearing heavy armor is because obviously getting shot through this wall, they have to hit you 10 times to kill you, which is almost impossible, especially because a lot of people will just like wall the same spot. So if you're getting shot, you just move like this and you're still on top of the barrel and now they're not hitting you anymore. Or if they're walling you from the other side, you just move this direction. If you're really scared, you just fall off this. And one thing that what I noticed was like a huge part of my success when I started doing this, and I think still is for a lot of people, is people like, I would say like half of the players that play Insurgency like must not have gone into this house ever, because what you will see is like guys in this alley trying to kill you and they're shooting here. Well, apparently they don't know that just would be shooting into this barrel. You know what I mean? Right. Or they'll wallbang this other side. Like, oh, he's on the left. Okay, I'm going to wallbang that. Like, what? You're going to shoot these boxes? Like, this guy is invincible from the alley. You can't kill him.
Right. If they're up on the top of the second one, you might be able to get a lucky headshot, but you got to shoot way higher than you think.
Right. And you don't, like, you can't afford to get body shots. You know what I mean? Like, you're never going to kill him.
You're searching for a lucky headshot based on how wall armor works, which we can talk about at some point. What you
should never do is never sit on top of these things. Because once you ADS, you can't see anything, and they can like see you easily.
Right. Yeah.
So that's really bad. What I usually do is I get on this barrel and I'll just like lean peek this. Probably the way you die the most, even when like people are watching for you, is someone just drops down and shoots you. Because like this is, I don't know, for whatever reason, like they just drop down and they shoot you and then they die. So like it's kind of, you have to kind of split your focus between the front and the back. This is kind of a hard shot to make anyway, so you really want to count on your team to cover you. So like I think this is a really good strategy, and what I really like about it is that it forces you to play as a team.
What about getting walled through the fence or getting shot over the fence?
Yeah, so
ridge fence.
Yeah, that happened to me yesterday, which was you. So this is something that I thought was really interesting, and like I just haven't talked about it ever because I don't want people to know you can do it. Like a couple of seasons ago, this used to happen. This used to happen a lot, and I would just sit here looking at the fence. And then for whatever reason, when I came back to start playing again, no one knows about it anymore, so I just never had to worry about it. But yeah, that's a good spot. You just jump up on this fence right here, and you can see like the guy's whole body, and he can't see you. So that's actually why, like I just like to play on the edge of the barrel.
You can wall through it too, because how wall bangs work is different.
Well, this could be a good spot too.
Yeah. So I don't know, like.
That's on my bucket list, JeMs. Actually, jumping up there early round.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean that's really like that's what I would say. Like you can do different stuff, like you can play here or what have you, but also the barrel is just so good.
You're at risk.
And then all you have to do is listen for grenades. Yeah. This barrel is like weird to jump on sometimes. But
what about if somebody throws a molly in the house?
You jump on the barrel.
This one?
This one. Okay. Or any of them, I think. I'm pretty sure you're safe because. And Finesse is in chat. Like I told him to sit on the barrel when you were throwing mollies at him yesterday, and he survived. But literally the entire time of the molly, I heard the audio cue of him getting hurt by it.
It must have just been really far away from him. Also, if you don't have line of sight to the center of the molly, like if there's anything blocking it, it won't do damage to you. So maybe I was thinking about this. Maybe in in between the boxes and the fish cart, it might break line of sight.
Yeah, maybe.
Like sometimes, so it won't break with that one because that one
right on top of me. Yeah,
was right on top of you. But yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess kind of summary, I look at C-Rock, then I look at Blue Alley. I'll either bait B or actually just run onto it. And your job as the B player is like kind of to watch for yourself, you know, and try to make it so you can kill people, but like you really don't want to over peek. You just want to like be a radar, right? Like you can hear people running around on ridge that your stilts player can't hear, and you just tell him, or your shrine player, you're like, hey, there's a guy on ridge, and they're like, oh, thank you, I can't see him, but he's right next to you running back and forth. You can hear him really easily. You can hear people on balcony if you're in the B house.
Okay.
Like the biggest audio cue that gives people away, like I think Tarvin and Grimoire must get so many free kills because I'm like, oh, there's a guy in the river, because it makes a freaking huge ass noise. It's like a proximity alert.
Right.
So your job is basically to stay alive, to not get wallbanged, and then just be like, hey, there's a guy here, there's a guy here, there's a guy here, that I'm blocked. And then sometimes you might need to like lean out and kill this guy, or, you know, figure something out. You have a really good angle to lower blue, which I don't think people realize. But yeah, I mean, your job is not to kill people.
So,
generally speaking, peeking is probably a bad thing.
So Kisses, go back to the barrel and do your little jiggle out to B alley.
You get way better angles through that tree than they have on you, by the way.
Yeah, or and like if you're here, you can see, like depending on what your LOD settings are, like you can see the window. It's hard to make the shot because you have a pistol, if you're me, but yeah.
So
and I just spam it because you get like different angles when you're going in and out, so you can kind of see people.
You should probably take a sniper class actually and take like SKS. I think that's also.
I have the sniper class. I could take the SKS. You can afford the sniper rifle with AP.
All right, so talk about playing B from a security perspective.
Yeah.
Because
Also,
I think B on security, I don't know. What do you think? For me, I've always thought security, you know, it's a hard side to win on, and if you're not playing B, I don't really know how you win.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I'm gonna switch sides, just because.
Finesse also asked, where do you go when you hear a grenade being?
Also, how do you make it fun?
That's a good question, dude. Winning is fun, Jems.
That's true.
Okay, if I hear a grenade being pulled, I'm not gonna lie to you. A lot of times I just run out into the alley, and I make the intuitive leap that like if I can tell it's a guy here pulling the grenade, I just try to run out and shoot him. I'm not gonna lie to you. I know people will nade you from lower blue sometimes, so like you might be able to peek that, but I just run off the point. Like I'll hide here. I'll run backwards.
Can you switch your knife real quick? Your gun looks like an M16 Makarov.
Yeah. If you run out and then you want to turn probably any of the directions, because if you break line of sight to the grenade, just like the Molotov, it won't do any damage to you. So if you run out and just like duck behind the little ramp on Insurgent side, or run forward and duck behind the tree, or any of these things, you're very unlikely to be. And proning probably also works.
Yeah, and like good ways to like and that's a lot of the reason why sometimes I'll just tap it and then I'll jump here and then try to lean ridge, is because like I'm trying to bait grenades out. Sometimes this works in your favor, like works against you, because the guy will throw a grenade that is bad and it bounces through the house and then kills you anyways, which is really frustrating. But yeah, I mean, you try to bait the grenades out as much as you can, and then you just like, if you hear a grenade being pulled, like I just run off the point. Like I'll run out there, I'll try to hide here. Like I know I'm dead if I stay in the house, so I just I take a risk, right? Like the thing that's so funny is like a lot of people aren't looking at it. Like how much time do you spend as a player on security side station watching your door?
No, you're like, dying to other shit, so you gotta like.
You know what I mean? Like you don't spend time doing that. It looks like you could play an AKM here just fine and not get blocked because it's not any shorter than the M16 or not any longer. But
yeah, just don't.
Yeah, I mean,
suppressor.
I don't know. That's what I think. Yeah, I don't think there's a good spot to run out finesse when you're getting naded. Like if you run backwards, is probably the safest. This spot is really underrated. Like if you get B capped up and you want to get off, like just going to, if you're on Insurgents, just going here and laying prone. These guys won't think you're here. They'll just walk right over your head. And like it's really underrated shooting under this house. Like
yeah, that's something I always compliment when I see people doing when they play B and the round works out so they cap it, but there's still people alive. I hate when people run away. Like it's a big risk to run onto the objective. It's a bigger risk to just run out in the open off of it sometimes. So.
I'm sure people know you can cap from here. I don't actually think this is very good because you have to get so far out to be on the point. Like, but
right.
All right, so we're talking about security now. Cool. So on security for playing B, what I would recommend is throw your grenade and then just stand here for a while and don't do anything. Like that's the easiest way to die in security is try to do something aggressively. And like obviously some people on your team have to play aggressive, but As the B player, like you don't need to. For a long time, and a lot of people I think head to B this way up this alley. The reason I don't like it is because like this is a really easy angle for insurgents. Like they can even prone way back here and kill you. Like you have to run so long in a straight line with no cover. It's just not something I'm a big fan of. And then when you get here, like going into the house on security is okay, but it's not as good as insurgents because there's no barrel here to help you out. You have to like defend yourself from tin, which is, you know what I mean? Like you have to watch here almost the entire round. And if a guy just pushes you here, you can't actually see him. So like this is a really hard angle. I've actually been toying with the idea of just playing the barrel on security. Like I actually think this might be the best spot. The problem is you're playing a right peak versus a left peak, but I don't know what you're going to do. I just don't think the house is very good on security. I guess that's my opinion.
Insurgents can see in through the doors from their spawn.
And it's really easy for them to nade it, right? Like, I think, like this is a nade. I think that goes in the house. Yeah, I messed it up a little, but it's not that difficult. So I think like I don't like going here just because I think you're too easy to kill. These roofs are like really annoying to deal with. Like if you shoot through them at too flat of an angle, you know, I just don't like being over here. So what I tend to do is I'll wait and I'll just come through the river. So now everyone can throw light nades at the river if they want to. And I think being right here is really good. Like this spot, I'm a fan of. It's kind of like I don't like to split my attention between two things, but I kind of like being able to watch these two things.
It's hard for them to see you at all from
I don't really play behind these at all. I'm not a big fan of this. Like I know a lot of people play here. I don't know. I feel like you're really open to that stuff. I think you're probably really open to that stuff when you're prone here, but I just feel much safer here than I do crouching. Like when you're prone, you're so much lower profile.
Right.
And I do like to be able to have the option to move this way, because if you lose A, you can just move over here. And if you have C-side control, like you're pretty safe to do this, and you can just lay here with your M16. Like people flank ridge, and they don't expect you to be sitting here and just wall banging through these boxes. There have been rounds where we like are losing A control but gaining C control, and I'll just rotate this way the entire round on the edge of the dock. Like this is a pretty underrated spot, I think. Mm-hmm. If you're pretty sure your back is safe, like no one from Insurgents pushing B is going to look here. So the other spot that I would talk about playing, and this is a spot I don't get to play as much because of the way that I come on to B, is I like to play this spot. I think is pretty good, like prone right here. You have a good angle to this, you have a good angle to this. And the thing that's really good about this spot, if you can get in here, this spot I think is good against if the other team is playing C heavy, because these boxes are really good against. You have a good angle into stilts. They can't really see you as easily as you can see them, and you have a pretty good peek onto stilts alley.
So you want to take it. It seems like you're trying to be a much more active defender of B as a security player than you are as an insurgent. Like
like when you're on team. Yeah, when you're on Insurgents, you're basically just like, I'm invincible. No one can kill me. They have to cross a bunch of open ground. Right. You're like, just, you know what I mean? Like, how hard is it to get on? Like, they have to cross this open river. They have to drop down this spot here. Like, it's really easy for your team on your side of the map to stop all that from happening. It's much more difficult, I think. Well, I don't know if that's the case necessarily, because, I mean, it's pretty easy for security to stop Insurgents from getting on B, but, like, I don't know. I just think about, like, I feel like you have to fend for yourself a little bit more on Insurgents because your team is not in such a dominating position, right? Like Insurgents just is overpowered to begin with, so you don't have to do that much. You just feed them information and stay alive. You have to take more risks on security if you want to win.
How much
this
of that
spot is good
has to do with like a balcony being able to kill you? I feel like that kind of warps where you're.
Yeah, it does. Well, and that's why like I'll play here. I'm very willing to play this spot because. Right. People don't, and now they might, but people don't really expect you to play here. Like, it's hard to see you, I'm sure. You just kind of like hold this angle and you watch these things and you hope that they don't kill you from here. Right. But it's much like I would rather fight this guy, I think, than fight this guy from here, right? Like, I can't, if I'm prone here, I can't even see balcony, I don't think, right? But he can see me, I'm sure.
Right.
I don't know. I'm just, I don't want to fight him. Like, I see you play this spot a lot now. Like, I don't like this balcony.
Yeah, I do this early, usually because my team's playing more active A defense, and that doesn't split my attention. I can just watch cables.
Yeah, and maybe, like, I don't know, for a while there, we didn't put anyone in A, right? JeMs, like, we played super passively. We just gave up balconies. So if you're winning C and giving up A, you just rotate away.
No, I would definitely not play there if I knew my team wasn't covering balcony. And it just,
I think...
you can see, I like that you can see them running to B from parkour from the other side, like under the house. Whereas this one, I feel like you might die to parkour player.
Yeah, the parkour player is difficult. sometimes. Like, it's hard for you to kill people who get past you into B. Like, it's difficult as a security B player to kill the insurgent B player and also not die.
Right.
But yeah, like you're reliant on your team to help you clear B. But yeah, I think you can be a little bit more proactive. I also have a real gun on security, so because I don't take a flashbang, or I don't need one.
You should consider it. They're pretty good.
Maybe I should just use. So I mean, to be honest with you, the reason I take a real weapon on security is because I want to be able to kill this guy, and if I have a pistol, I can't. That's the only reason I do it.
There you go. So M16 AP. Grenade.
Yes. And
I
use heavy armor. Yeah,
So
I don't
why are you
actually
taking
know if
heavy
it
armor?
matters. I feel like it protects me through this stuff sometimes. I'm not sure if it does, but it feels like it does. So I guess I could afford a flashbang if I didn't have the armor.
Yeah, it affects.
It is legitimate though, because it gives you the option to play in the house, which I don't think you really have without the armor. Like you're a much bigger threat in the house with armor than if you don't have it at all. So
I just want to. I'm going to do it as quickly as I can. The AP armor wall thing. So the way armor works is it makes bullets do 1/10 of the damage. The way walls work is they make bullets do 1/10 of the damage if they pass through. The way AP ammo works is it makes your bullets do 10 times the damage. So the thing is that an unarmored player through the wall has heavy armor to their entire body. It has like their legs, they take 1/10 damage, blah blah blah. But AP ammo, if they hit the chest or the stomach, is going to kill you anyway in one shot because it does 10 times the damage. But as soon as you take armor and you have the wall, all of a sudden that's 100th the damage versus 10 times the damage of AP means that AP now takes 10 shots. Where and the arms and the legs and all that other stuff also takes 10 shots. Really, the only hitbox that you can reliably kill somebody through the wall is the head, and oftentimes it's not even a one shot. So that's not true for wood. All of the materials have different protection values. So I don't know exactly what these wood crates are, but my guess is it's not as much as the 1/10 of the damage the wall protects you from. So the armor isn't quite. I mean, 10 times 10 is 100, but 10 times, like if it's only 60% damage or something, is significantly less. Like
so I'm definitely not convinced it's the right thing to do, but it feels like it's been useful. Kingmaker, when Kingmaker played with us, we both would play heavy armor near B. It's good against people who use MP5s with HP ammo, I guess, if they don't shoot you in the arms. I don't know, like, it seems to be fine. You could probably use a flashbang instead, I suppose, if you were so inclined, or a smoke or something.
Even
like that.
MP5 with AP ammo, if they don't hit you in the arms, is 4-shot, so...
Yeah, so it's pretty good. One thing that I will say that I think is underrated is just playing 2D players. Like, people don't check for the second guy.
Where would you? It's hard to find spots.
On Insurgents, it's really easy because the second guy just plays behind the house. On security, it's a little bit more difficult, I think. I think you can maybe have a guy dock, and then like the other guy doesn't necessarily have to be on B. And it may not work on security. Like, it could be the B alley. This guy can be your second B player.
That's where you used to play, in that little shrub.
Yeah, so that guy can be your B player. If you can afford one. Like, I've had a lot of success with like having a person in the house and a person on the dock, because if there's a person on the dock shooting, like, people just assume the house is empty.
Right.
I think like people on station don't like to rotate to check B. They get the kill, or they think they do, and they're really slow to actually want to go check it because they have to expose themselves so much to do it. And so just that second person they're already capping a lot of times will just give you the round.
I think double B is just good overall across all maps, but I think it's sometimes not as good because of the rest of the map and the amount of players it takes to close off B and make those two players safe. So, okay, you're investing 2 players to B. But how many players does it take to keep those players safe? On most maps, on most maps, it's like 4 players to really be sure that you're going to cover everything.
On station, it's like
But on station, it's less because you can actually, from a lot of spots, cover all of B, but to be safe, maybe cover half of B. And so really 2 players can cover all of B if you're on C side.
Yeah, like if you've got Stilts, you've got Shrine, and you have like another guy back by Z stairs or something, like your B players are pretty safe.
I think you could triple B on this map, maybe.
Yeah, the only thing about doubling it is you want to be far enough apart that one grenade doesn't kill you both.
Right.
Yeah, it's spacing. That's a big thing. That was something that I learned from playing, like having my team was it's hard to develop good spacing habits in this game.
Like, this is a spot that I'll play sometimes. Anywhere on the side of this dock where you can peek through some bullshit, like, wooden thing and see that alley is really good, in my opinion.
I think this map's a lot about, for security, kind of doing some gimmicks and some high-risk, high-reward things that probably aren't going to work all the time, but if it does work, it gives you an advantage, and you just got to go for those. Like, if you play really low risk across the board on security, then just the advantages that insurgents get is just gonna probably just beat you. So you gotta do some weird stuff.
So finesse, you mentioned the wood thing. I mean, you're gonna have to empirically prove it to me because I've gone and tested it, and I'm very convinced.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. It is weird. Like, it feels like you get shot and you don't die. But
it's the
one other thing to notice is, like,
people think the
grenades. Yeah,
they don't affect it all either.
This tin has a really distinct sound, which is important if you're playing B. Like, it's really easy to call out if there are people there. If you're on B, mostly, like, people, one thing to be aware of is people will, like, jump onto the house and come over your head onto these things. So if you're aware of that, like, you can really shut that down. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I should have more to say, but honestly, like, it's very reliant on your team. On security, I tend to be a little bit more aggressive at actually holding angles because I feel like I need to. On insurgents, like, there isn't, like, a good angle that you can hold, really. Like,
as someone who covers B,
you're also disadvantaged if you have a pistol, so you don't want to take fights.
I'm just gonna say real quick, I think of B as two halves, okay? And I have my screen angled as the first half, which is the security side, which is B alley, B rock, and the river. And they can come down from mid-ridge right here. And so if you can tell your B guy that you're covering that, which you can from a lot of places on Seaside, the alleys, stilts, lower blue, even like back near C Rock, you can cover all that. And then the other half would be where my screen is right here. If you took a screenshot, you're covering all of that. So it would be this side ridge, like tin ridge, tin, cubby, parkour, all this, and that side of river. So basically, I think the setup is you need to have some guy covering this, you need to have some guy covering this, and you play B. And that's the checkmate setup if you don't mess it up. And maybe some guy making sure that those guys covering B don't get shot in the back. So that's all I'm going to say. I think it's pretty simple.
I like to think about the entire map of Station as Ministry Bravo. It's Ministry if it was just balcony and outside and Bravo, and like there's this middle of the map, and like there's this really important objective and people play on it and everything is centered around it, and then there's like these power positions on either side. And I know people don't necessarily think about outside B as a power position, but I think it's pretty strong. So generally, like, that's kind of my shortcut for how to think about playing Station, and that's my new go-to for explaining it to people. If they know how to play in and around B on Ministry, then that's how you should think about Station. Like,
you can move these little boxes if you hit F. If you didn't know.
Cool.
Yeah,
I think that was
it's
a lot of info that
super
good
relevant.
thing we only have one more season, right? Unless there's some
I mean,
revival.
so when you're on security, you just watch out for grenades, because people will grenade you, and it's really annoying.
Yeah, when you're the B player, really when you're any player, I think your top priority is to make yourself hard to kill. But when you're a B player, that priority is just leagues above any other priority. Like, obviously, like, playing on B is your top priority, but a lot of people I see, I'm like, hey, they're like, okay, I can play B, and they're players who haven't played a lot of B, and they'll like rush B and try to get there as fast as they can. But it's a lot less about when you get on B and more about how hard you are to kill on B whenever you're able to get there. Like, take your time, wait out the nades, get in a good
really
spot,
hard.
and make yourself really hard to kill. That's your job.
Yeah, you have to. It's actually there's two, like, how to get to B effectively and safely, and then how to be on it, because those are two very difficult things, and those are very valuable skills.
And it's skill based. Like, that's why I'm trying to get people away from thinking about KD and hitting tab and looking at KD and talking shit, because playing B, like, you can hear about how well thought out Kisses has thought about this role on this map, and he's done this on a lot of different maps. And his job is not to get kills. His job is not to kill the enemy team. His job is to be on B, be hard to kill, and notice where the grenades are in the early game. Notice like the safest way to get onto B and the best places to play on B, and the ways to, counter the counters to the way he's gonna play it. So there's a lot to consider, and being a good B player is not easy, and there's a huge demand for objective players because it is really hard, and it is very skill based. It's just not like aim based, maybe perhaps like it's positioning, timing, and pattern recognition based skills.
It's also very hard to develop in pugs because
and I mean it definitely requires teamwork to make it work. Like sometimes you're not getting covered and everyone's just running around and not covering anything for you on B, then it's really hard to practice. So I think it's a really hard skill to even practice because a lot of times on a pug you're just not gonna be able to do it unless you tell everyone what to do and they listen to you, which isn't that often. So
yeah, it requires everyone working together to be successful.
And the enemy not knowing really good nades and Molotovs.
Yeah, well, you need to bind sound restart to V and just spam it every second. That's the key to being a good B player.
And just
definitely do that on this map every time the river goes away.
Yeah, I highly recommend sound restart.
You think you sound restart Snailman, but you don't.
No, I'm trying to do it more and more often, but I don't do it very much. And I don't think that you're doing it. I think you're doing it way too much, and it's bad.
He does.
So
I do it the perfect amount. Watch my stream.
Find a
everyone go follow.
Find a different role model for the sound restart. Cause it's not.
If you want to see someone who sound restarts the most of anyone ever, go to twitch.tv/Kissesandsparkle. Hit the follow button. Get ready to see him hit that button a lot.
All right,
cool.
Do you want to do sick of it and end this?
Yeah. Let's I'm
not sick of anything. You guys are great.
All right, let's go to our last segment. We're gonna wrap this up. We've been streaming for 2.5 hours, and let's go talk about what we're sick of in this next segment entitled "Who's Sick of It." Okay, and where's my face? There it is. I'll kick it off. And so sick of it's kind of a negative segment where we just kind of get to complain, because complaining's fun, right? Everyone likes to feel, that great feeling that you're right and everyone else is wrong. But I wanted to be a little constructive this week with my sick of it. And because I'm sick of something that I don't really expect people to do, which I'm going to use this as a platform to talk about communication and what I think people should be communicating that they're not. And it's something I don't think is like obvious. It's just something I think like I'm trying to push the comms meta of this game. That's something I made one of my top goals as a teacher. So basically, okay, there's three like really, really simple concepts I want to talk about comms. So I'm really sick of losing rounds because of bad comms or lack of comms. And a lot of times it's a round we lose because we didn't have comms, but it's like stuff that's not expected at all. So like I'm not really like actually mad about it, but like I've been trying more and more like in pugs to like try to teach my team like to give certain call outs and certain bits of info that normally like no one ever really gives. So the first one, and this is something that I think even like on my team, Armada especially, with like Tarpon and Grinmore, who are just like aim gods and positioning gods and just really good at the game. But I critique them sometimes on like, I want more info. Like I for me as a player, like I play off of my team. I'm like all about like thinking about what my team is telling me and like trying to like do like fill in the role that would most complement them. Like I'm a complementary player, so without info I can't do that job. So I'm always trying to get like Grin and Tarpon and Kisses also and Wooly, everybody, Joe, to give me like more information. So the first thing I always think about, lately I've been thinking about this game like from B. So like your B guy should be giving out B %, and we were talking about this earlier, like when we were talking about support players knowing when to rotate. If you don't have info from your B guy, it's really hard to know, and I'm always like, in pugs, I'm sick of like asking my B guy like, what's the B percent? Like, are you blocked? Because like I'm never sure because they're not telling me anything. But if you're on B, be like, all right, just tell your team like I'm capping up B. All right, it's 25%. Still capping B. All right, I'm capped 75%. I'm about to cap B. Like all that, just those 4 things. It's like 25%. Like I'm on B. It's not blocked. 25, 50, 75, I'm about to cap B. Like that's like the flow chart for comms on B. It's really simple, but if you do it, it's like so helpful. It helps your whole team a lot. The other thing is when you hear a teammate go down and you're in a support position, you hear like, oh, I'm dead tires. He's tires. If you're in a place where you can watch that, a lot of times if I'm dead, I'm that guy who died tires, of course. I'm like, oh, he's tires. I'll see my bout guy, I'll see my B guy, I'll see my cafe guy, and I'll see my arch guy all look at tires and not say anything. What's bad about that? Obviously, it's terrible, right? Everyone's looking at it. Now everything is open except for tires. Now we're in a worse setup than we were before that guy called out tires. So really by that guy dying and giving that info, it actually caused something worse to happen. Like if he was silent, it would be better than everyone on the team looking at the same exact thing, right? So I'm always like telling people, oh, you guys are all looking at the same thing. So to solve this, it's really easy. If you know you're in the best place to watch tires, say you're like, say you have total bout control. We're talking about district here, just as the example. Say I got it. Like if you know you're in the best spot to go pick up that spot that is open, say, I got it. I'm watching tires as fast as you can. Like anytime that you hear a call out and you can cover it, tell your team that. That is like so important because it prevents that terrible scenario that I just described from happening. And it happens all the time on my team, and it pisses me off because like I think we can be a lot better, and that is one of our biggest weaknesses. I feel like sometimes is we cover things redundantly, and you want to cover as much of the map as you can with the amount of players you have alive. And so the best way to do that is to make sure you say you got it. So literally this segment of my rant could just be called got it. Just say got it. Like, oh, I'm dead tires. I got it. I got your tires. That is like the golden best comms you can give right now. And no one's doing it, and please do it. Like let people know what you're watching. It's so valuable. Like I'm spamming that. I'm spamming my comms what I'm watching all the time. Anytime I change what I'm watching, I'd say it. Like unless it's completely hectic and there's no way to get a word in edgewise, like on ministry hectic rounds, sometimes you just can't fit it in because everyone's blocked on every objective and every objective's at a different percent. But most of the time you can like fit that in. Like I'm watching tires. I got it. Amazing. I'm covering your tires. Then the B guy doesn't have to go watch that. He can continue watching Arch. So that's what I'm sick of. Not really that sick of it because people don't really know, but just trust me. Like it's so valuable. You got it?
I would add anything that's like fluid, especially B cap, periodic reminders. So like even if you're not capping, if it's blocked, like, you know, not incessant reminders, but a periodic one's always useful. Or if you died and the enemy's capping, it can still be your job as dead to just periodically remind, like, you know, maybe after something happens and they're like, you know, somebody kills somebody and you'd be like, they're still capping B. Just like throw it in there because map control is a fluid thing. And so calling your rotates helps to understand that. And like B control is also a fluid thing that's changing. So periodic time reminders is nice. Yeah, time running out shark is also a good one.
Yeah, that's something I would love. Like I tunnel pretty hard in some really close rounds, and it's a weakness of mine, and that's probably why the only thing that like I really complain about and that I don't feel like I really should be able to complain about is like not getting info from my team that I probably could get for myself, like time running out. But especially if you're like the player that died early in the round, don't just like go get a glass of water. Like as the dead guy, you can still really help your team by keeping tabs on some stuff. I don't think you should necessarily be calling everything because like it can go overboard and you can be like saying stuff that your team is perfectly fine with giving out. But if you die somewhere and your team's getting flanked because of that gap you just created by dying there, like keep a reminder like our street is open. Like, yo, our street's still open. Because like a lot of times it takes me like a couple, like if I was like in a fight, like really close peak battle, like while you did that first call out, like hearing that second update is like, oh crap, yeah, okay, no, yeah, my street's open. Like that's a big deal. Like and being able to recognize when like you create a big deal with your mistake, like give that call out a couple times. You know, if there's a gap in the comms where you can do that. So
yeah, not like 5 times in a row
Yeah.
and then never again, but like once and then like after the next thing that happens, like again, just like a quick one.
What are you
All
sick of,
right.
Snail?
I'm gonna be sick of something for both myself and Kisses because I don't know for certain necessarily, but I'm pretty confident that Kiss is sick of this too, and he's being nice because he doesn't want to be, sick of anything. But I'm certain that he's sick of this. I'm sick of the casual toxicity in pugs in the gym and the mission of the gym being lost. And particularly, I think there are some, I'm going to give some advice. I'm going to be constructive with this as well, because that's just like, I don't really want to talk about just like, don't be a dick and like these other things. There's these rules in the gym and they're being forgotten, but it's actually really unpleasant to go pug in the gym. And I would do it more. I think a lot of other people, like older people, would do it more if it wasn't so painful. And it's not just like, oh, there's new people, I don't want to play with new people, or it's like hard to teach people every game, because it's more than that. Like, if you are a veteran or somebody who's played pugs and you know what's going on, there are some really simple things you can do to make it just a way better experience for everyone. Starting with like, yo, get in the server, like you get picked for a team, whatever, like get games going. I played like 8 pugs a couple of days ago, and I timed how long it took from teams picked and we knew what server to get in before the game started. The quickest game started 15 minutes after teams were picked and we were all like told which server to join. The longest one took 30 minutes. And like, it's not the new people who are like at fault for that. That's just like
Certain people.
Like
One
Jesus,
person
like,
can waste all the other 10 people. Even if it's 10, even if you make 10
brutal.
people wait 10 minutes, that's, I was saying the other day, that's 100 man minutes wasted. You're hurting the
sucks.
world economy when you do that.
It also just sets really bad precedent for the game. Like it makes it so people, it sets this really casual attitude and people don't take the game seriously, and that like opens up for people to just use blatantly troll loadouts the entire time, or to like yell at people. And if you're somebody who has like some keybind that talks trash and you're using it like constantly in gym pugs to like talk trash on new people, that fuck you. Like it's so like the gym is obviously a place, it's the open source, everybody can go play here thing. Everybody knows that there's going to be new people. Everybody knows there's like systems in place. There's miss last game. Like if you're new, you're not going to play every time. You have to get better. Like, it's going to be an experience, but you can make it way less like toxic and painful. And like talking trash in a pug place that's specifically like the mission of it is to teach people and to get better, and you're like talking trash, and it's not the place. Like talk trash in your match, talk trash in a scrim, talk trash in like a pug tournament, or with like specifically to somebody who you're friends with. Like talk trash to me, that's fine, man. You knife me, talk trash, I hate that shit. Like get under my skin, get under somebody else's skin, that's fine. But to just like blatantly tweet it out with a keybind in the middle of games where like I just cannot. That really, really bothered me.
If you like Insurgency, if you think it's a good game, then you should think it's important to make the game more fun for people that you're playing with. Like, if you're making it less fun and you're making people wait 10, 20 minutes to start a pug by going AFK, oh, I'm going to go smoke a cigarette here, like, after joining the server and, like, being AFK and having this pause, talking trash, having keybinds that just like make people feel bad, and you think it's funny, you think it's just a meme, but like nah, like it's annoying. Like be a good sport, like make it fun to be a person that's fun to play against. Like if you're gonna talk trash, like some people I just don't think know how to talk trash. Like like there's a fun way to do it, and like if you have a relationship with someone else, like you can maybe push it a little farther. But when like if you're you don't have the rapport with other people, like just keep it fun. Like make the game more fun to play. Like welcome people in. Make yourself someone who's fun to play with. It doesn't hurt. Like, and I don't know.
So this didn't used to exist, and back in the old TeamSpeak days, it didn't like. There weren't as many people. There's a lot more people. They play less often, so it's like a lot of newer, different people all the time, and like back in the day, if you didn't listen to call up comms or you didn't like, you would get banned for a week. Like if the people who ran the bromance TeamSpeak thought that you were not respecting the advice of like experienced people and like not if you know if there was somebody who sort of took on the role of being a team leader in a pug and you said like, hey, let's do this, and you were just like, no, I don't want to do that, like you would get banned for a week. It'd be like, doesn't listen, like is unwilling to be helpful, like banned. And like we don't need to have those types of policies, but it's on every single amateur veteran person in the community to just take it a little bit more seriously. Like I can count on like one hand the number of pugs I've played in the last month in the gym that were taking seriously at all. And I've played, you know, I think I've played about 20 so far. Like only 10% of them, if that, are like fun, serious, somewhat serious experiences, and that's a really bad ratio. It should be the other way, or even like further the other way. Like it starts with getting in the server. It starts with just being like, you know, volunteering to be captain. It starts with just taking things like a little bit more seriously. And if just setting the mode and the tone of a slightly more serious, like scape, I'm losing the words here, but set the tone of just slightly more serious and just be the change that you'd like to see. So
we can do it. Actually,
yeah,
I think you always hear good stuff about the insurgency community overall. Like if we were gonna compare our community to almost any other community, like we're doing great, but like I think that is what. Oh, Jameson, thank you for the sub, dude. I think that is what like sets us apart, and I think that's what's gonna make this game, and like people who really understand this game and really like appreciate this game, like even if you're brand new, like when I first played this game, I was like, something about this game is like I get it, you know? And I don't know. I think it's done really well, and going into Sandstorm, like I want to keep that going. So
yeah, I mean, you know, we talked about matchmaking. Like pugs should be better than matchmaking, and I'm not sure that they are right now. So
dude, like, outlaw's like promotion of ESGL is, he's been ramping it up, but the way he slips it in, just laugh, it's so funny, dude.
I can't pick just one thing to be sick of, Snailman.
Yeah, like, but am I right?
Perfect. Like at the end of the day,
I'm sick. I'm sick of everything.
I'll get mad, and I'll complain about something that I don't think should have happened because of some weird bug, maybe, or lag. Who knows? But at the end of the day, I don't have a better game to go play. So I guess
like my big thing that I feel like I'm sick of lately is like I don't even know how I would say this. Like people aren't interested in getting better. Is what that's what I feel like I'm sick of. Like, I'm sick of people finding every excuse for why they died, then they did something wrong. Like, okay, fine, maybe hit registration is not the best thing in the world. What could have you done to set yourself up to be in a position where you could have just shot that guy in the back instead? Like, if you're taking an equal fight, you're putting yourself at a position where you don't have an advantage, and like that might not work in your favor. Or like the same thing comes from the perspective of like just hunting for kills instead of playing to win the round. Like not communicating where you're going and just deciding, well, I'm just going to go do this thing now. So I don't know. That's like at a high level, I think the thing that sticks out to me the most. Like I wish people were, like to JeMs' point, more engaged in communicating. I wish people were more interested in thinking about what they could have done differently, as opposed to just complaining about hit registration or lag or what have you. And then I also think like, and this even happened on our team, like I wish people would explain why they say things. And I'm probably super guilty of just saying this is the right way to do it and then not explaining. But there was an example on Embassy where JeMs and Wooly were saying, we need someone to read the globe cross. We need to know if there's a guy crossing. But they never told us why they need to know that information. And so, like, we can do it, but if we don't understand why we're doing it, like, we can't actually help you. We can just say, yes, there's a guy, no, there's not a guy, but we don't know why we're telling you that. So if you say, I need you to read the globe cross because if you see a guy cross, I know there's a guy upper, and that means I can drop lower safely, or I can push water fountain safely, or whatever, I'm making shit up. And now I can actually use that information, and I got better, right? Like, I need you to pre-fire this spot for me. Okay, why do you need me to do that, right? Like, if you just need me to pre-fire this spot for you so you can push through and get all the kills, like, that's fun for you, but that's not fun for me. I don't get any better.
Yeah, that goes back to the whole,
that's the thing that I call out.
Yeah, teaching people why they need to do something rather than just telling them the very specific, basic thing.
Socratic method.
Yeah.
And I think that all boils into, like, people don't play to get better. Like, they play to win. They play to get lots of kills. They play to not die.
For clips.
I don't even think people play to win, honestly, a lot of times. But, like, they play for all different reasons. And obviously, I'm not going to say that your reason is wrong. But, like, that's what I wish. I wish people would be more interested in, like, getting better and making everyone else better and saying, I need you to do this, and this is why, and having a discussion about it, as opposed to, like, you need to do this because I told you to, or I can't believe you did that thing. You should obviously know better because you've played this many hours in this game. I can't believe you're such an idiot. Like, how is that helpful to anyone?
Yeah. Cool.
But I think it's good.
I'm glad we got that off our collective chest.
I'm also sick of sucking yesterday.
Hey.
I don't think I went positive once.
You know, it happens. Sometimes you just wake up and you're just bad at everything you do for the whole day.
It's just, well, that happens, but also more when you get older, which really stinks. But yeah, just being interested in why. I think that's the unifying.
Oh yeah, I had a little anecdote example of the whole thing Kisses was talking about. So I used to play Super Smash Bros. Melee competitively, and I still love watching it. And I think, like, in the fighting game community, and especially in the Smash community, if you look at the top players, there's, like, they actually have this whole, like, lore built around the community where there's the 5 gods. And, like, the 5 gods are the top 5 players, and they're untouchable. Like, the only people that are ever considered to have a chance against them are another one of the 5 gods. It's epic. Watch Smash, and also watch the Smash documentary. But one thing that I've noticed about most of these players, like, they show a lot of negative emotion and stuff when they lose, but especially like PPMD, he, like, if you see, like, him lose a game, like, and a lot of other players that are really good, like, it cuts to the player cam, you're watching on Twitch, and rather than, like, them being pissed or sad, like, there's some players that do just get mad and sad, like, and even these players, like PPMD, they have their off days where they just, like, go into that negative place. But if you can get yourself, like, it cuts to the player cam, and I see him doing this, is like, it's like he had an epiphany after just losing. Like, he doesn't look mad. He's, like, almost, like, excited that he just, like, had the privilege of learning how that he just got outplayed. He just learned something, and that's, like, a positive. You can turn a loss into, if you can figure out a way to turn a bad round or a bad game into a positive experience, the best way to do that is by being like, oh, I got played. And if you figure out how you got outplayed, like, you should be proud of yourself. Like, yo, you just learned something, and you can take pages out of an opponent's book. Like, the other day, I went down to block Morty on C in Ministry in the garage, and I had my teammate in this pug event yesterday. I had my teammate also simultaneously. We synced it up perfect. We both got on C from 2 different angles, and Morty killed both of us. And I was like, at first I was like, oh, I was like pissed for like 2 rounds after that. But after that, I was like, I went and played C like 2 rounds later, and I, like, played in the spot that he was in. I was like, dude, I can cover this and I can cover this and probably win both of those fights. And that's, like, a pretty likely way for people to come block me. And I, like, kind of thought I had C figured out before that, but I'm like, this is now a new option I can do. And I was like, cool, I'm kind of glad that I got owned a couple rounds ago. Like, thank you, Morty, for owning us. Like, I'm going to steal your spot, and now I'm a better player. And, like, that's when you can do the head nod. Rather than this head on the desk, it's now like, okay, nice. Like, you learned something. It's like, so the more you can, like, try to put yourself in that, like, positive space when bad things happen, like, That's a huge trait that you see with champions. Like anyone who's like a beast at anything competitive probably has that trait, and you can learn that trait.
Yeah, I wish there was more a focus on like what could have I done differently than here's how I got screwed out of this because I'm flawless and I couldn't have possibly ever done anything wrong.
Kisses single-handedly team owns us on district by pistol rushing, and I felt real bad about it for a day, and then I just started doing it. And I was like, figured out more nuanced ways of how it works. I'm like, okay, well, we can actually do this pistol rush now. And I figured, you know, when they changed market, I figured out you could pistol rush the same thing we used to rush, and like, you figure that shit out by getting dumpstered. I just wish I figured it out faster. We actually didn't won that game.
That's one thing that I think is really difficult to do.
Very difficult to adjust to something you've never seen before. I mean, that's why the Olaf boost was so crazy.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap this up. Let's get an outro. Anyone want to do the outro?
Do you have your clips? Or are you done?
Clip of the week? Are we doing clip of the week? Yeah, we'll do.
Go out on clip of the week.
All right.
Special shout out to Stuff Shark. I think can I say that we're hiring interns for
if anyone wants to help with the production of this show, like we got jobs. I'm
Clip
gonna
of
be
the week's a
getting
big
really
one.
busy.
It's gonna be big in Sandstorm, right, JeMs?
Oh yeah, this like if you get in on the ground floor right now, this is gonna be top 2 podcasts on like it'll be like Joe Rogan, The Objective, just right there. So hit us up. Let's do clip of the week. Let me get them ready. I think I have 5 clips. Let's do it. All right, and cue clip of the week. Here we go. Number 5. So here we got number 5. This is submitted by Knife Legs, and this is actually from a match, Cryo versus Armada on Embassy, and he does some work around B, and let's check it out.
But nobody's there. Kisses trying to run into B. Cryo's already on it, though. Knife Leg sneaking in pretty quickly. He wants to push across. This is very dangerous, but nobody from Armada is watching. Knife Legs with a great kill onto JeMs. He sees Kisses, who got off the point, and Knife Legs with the pre-fire getting that kill. So 2 kills from Knife Legs, and headshot taking out Tarpon means that a 3v2 for Armada, and now a 2v2. Very difficult. B about to be capped. Cryo with an indomitable advantage here. Think about how he was killing both of you guys.
Nutty.
In the clip.
All right. So congrats to Knife Legs for that play. Like, it's good luck ever doing that again. Number 4. Oh, I'm above. Yeah, I see what you're saying. This is me. I get the number 4. So I don't know who chose this order, but hey, I'll take it. You know, 4th place, pretty good. Let's go. Have your flank. I have also an C. I'm in cover. 2v1. Not that flank.
B main. B main. Our friend there, trees.
Bravo.
Chris. Good job, JeMs.
What a god.
Let's go. Peace out, everybody.
Jumping off the little edges of B.
Jock Squad.
Number 3. I heard that guy above me in Shrine, by the way, and also Kiss gave me a call out. So shout outs to good call outs. Number 3.
JeMs, he's behind you.
He's over there.
There's one there. You see him?
This is a Kisses clip. Oh, around his favorite point, B on station with the pistol. Let's go. Double cap. Double cap.
Still sailing?
Kill?
B alley.
Stay put.
Ooh. Peace. Peace. Damn.
The flick of the wrist.
Kisses sent that to me, and he was like, "Could an AKM do this?" And I was like, probably.
How many sound restarts were there, James?
A few, we could count them. Yeah, so much sound restart. That's what he said. All right, number 2. We've got Snailman. Everybody,
who picked these clips?
dude.
God,
I mean, no bias at all, you guys. This is what
definitely.
This is what the Academy awarded the top. Okay.
My speed.
Just think of all the perks of being an intern.
Minus dark. Minus balcony.
Last one cafe.
Can make this. Minus cafe.
Peace.
B.
Oh.
B. Down.
Minus B.
Fidowd.
Yeah, Fidowd calls last one cafe and I kill him. Minus dark.
Minus
Minus balcony.
Last one cafe.
Minus cafe. B.
Wait, but if he's
B.
last one, do you need to reload?
Shout out to multiple things. Shout out to, it's a reflex, I guess. Shout out to Galthor calling I killed B in the beginning of the clip, and shout out to Fidowd he's feeding me the info on the other stuff, and I used to get the kills to react quickly enough, but then last one, just don't say last one. If he just said cafe, I would have killed cafe and then looked at B and maybe got the kill. I don't know.
Well, to be fair, maybe he was trusting Galthor that he killed the B guy.
Yeah, he was. So shout out Galthor.
All right, and drum roll. The clip of the week goes to the truth. Veritas Link. You gotta give it to him. Here it is.
Killed him. Apps or Cubby? I don't know what the fuck. Apps or Cubby? I hear him.
Look with the new headphones.
Airby Street.
Oh my god!
I didn't kill that app.
Oh my god! I gotta get another drink.
He really hypes up his own clips. It's pretty funny.
What happened? What happened?
So this week's clip of the week countdown
That's a lie. What happened?
should give you a little info on what you need to do to win the clip of the week. What you do after the clip is important. All right.
Yeah,
The,
just go
the reaction to your own good play, just freak out.
Yeah, Finesse's hold on C was really good. Do you have that one?
I
Just
do
as, like,
actually.
an
I kind of want to
honorable-
share that.
Yeah,
as a
honorable
runner-up.
mention. So here's the thing. Best thing you can do is if you're watching streams of like matches and stuff, clip cool shit. Honestly,
Yeah,
the
please
best
clip
thing.
stuff. If you ever watch my
Yeah, yeah.
stream, it's awesome.
It's way easier. Like we can go through our clips pretty quickly
Anything
and like look for cool shit. So if you're watching Link stream, if you're watching my stream, JeMs stream, if you're watching a shoutcast of any matches, we'll probably use a match clip over something else, just because matches are like way more intense and it's more impressive to us. But like, yeah, clip shit, just clip over something else, just because anything cool, double kill, like a good call, like anything.
He's now out of the round. Finesse, last man alive, is gonna rush abs, but he's
Here's
now called
Finesse.
out. He takes out Joe.
Yeah, I hate to
Link's
say
gonna
this
be-
Finesse clip is really sad.
Actually,
because
Finesse is gonna make his way to C.
He could have got
He's
his team back in.
gonna be
this
down
round.
by
They
about
coulda won this.
75% on this
Well, we
timing,
could've
which is gonna be plenty of
Zoo
time
did the
for
wrong
them to
thing.
come block from spawn.
but she learned from it, so it's good.
But I've seen people come back from worse. Let's see what he does. Root is gonna flank, and Finesse is ready for it. Good awareness. And right now, yeah, he
Say
should
B.
just be completely.
Well,
I would just assume that no one else is gonna come from B, and just focus on spawn. Now, I don't think this angle's good because Joe right here. Oh, nice. He capped C. And all of a sudden it's a 3v5. Seth is here at C though. Oh man, but Finesse is playing this so well. Oh, he misses the shot. Oh. I was clenching. All right, that's just part one. Where's part two?
right, it's a pretty long clip.
Cap
but-
C. And all of a sudden it's a 3v5. Oh. Oh. Hold my breath.
Finesse going huge. But there's a cap. The A gets capped, right? Oh, but outlawed spawn camping. Vinny
Great move,
almost
taking
gets
it
the
out a little
trade.
bit.
Oh,
If Vinny killed Outlawed there.
oh man.
That's huge. That would have been huge.
Finesse to see what he does. He's doing more work on C. He needs to check this. Oh my God, Finesse is going absolutely ham on C right now.
Oh wait, I clicked the. There must be another one. Wait.
No, that was it.
No, there's another part. Hold on, let me.
Cap C.
And
Cap
Well,
C.
I
all
think
of a
they
sudden,
run out of time.
and all
What
of a sudden,
makes it really crazy is what happens after that.
he
This
caps
is
the
C.
hype round, and all of a sudden it's a 3v5.
This is the shot.
Really sad to lose.
Or
this
camp.
round.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
Such a hero play.
Peaked, my bad. He did everything he could.
So his whole
what a
team dies
round.
after
But
double spawn camping on C.
his team could get out spawn. Outlawed with a really
Double
nice
just
spawn
hero
camp.
holding against the spawn.
And that's GG. And let's Finesse. Oh, Finesse gets up.
You have like
Let's
a
go,
whole
dude.
second.
It's
after.
a 2v1. He can do this.
Look at, let's watch this.
Okay,
again.
Link is
Playing really scared, really respecting him. He's telling Outloud where he isn't, I'm sure. And if they're smart, they'll push in at the same time. Let's see how Finesse plays this. Ah, well played by Link.
what a round.
And Link and Outlaw play this well.
Yeah.
I hate people who play
And they're
things smart.
if they're
They
scared,
ruin
really
my
respecting.
clip.
It's a 2v1. Oh, Finesse gets up.
Well, look how long. And that's GG. And let's Finesse
Round
over, dude. He's still in cubby when it's at 0 time, 2 points for Insurgents.
Let's go, dude.
GG.
I
Let's
love
Finesse.
it though. It's
Outlaw
hype.
with a really nice
Every
swan
time it
camp.
happens, I get really stoked.
And
Look,
that's
so-
GG.
Boom,
Let's Finesse.
game over.
Oh,
What
Finesse
is
gets
on?
up.
That's so cool.
Let's go, dude.
All right,
Anyway,
so
yeah.
That's your honorable
it's-
mention. Maybe tied for first. That was good. Even though they end up losing. Good job, Finesse. So that's this week's episode of The Objective. Thank you guys for watching. If you are not yet involved with competitive insurgency, check out the Discords. We're all run through Discord pretty much now. The DGL Discord is discord.thedgl.org. And the gym is discord.me/insgym. And that's a great place to go if you're brand new, you want to play pickup games. There's events every Saturday on different maps. A lot of new players. Both those Discords I would check out. Yeah.
ESGL Discord.
ESGL Discord. If you want to
If you
try a
wanna-
modded version of competitive
Yeah.
insurgency. And it's a good game.
Isn't there like some cringy shit that we say?
Thanks for watching.
Keep on playing the objective.
Don't forget to keep on playing the objective. Thanks, Snail. And Kisses, thank you for joining us. This was a insightful episode if you're still there and not asleep.
Yeah, let's go plug on Sinjar now.
All right, let's go poke Sinjar. Thank you guys for
Let's
watching.
go.
This has been JeMs. With me, I have Snailman and Kisses and Sparkles. Thanks for watching. Peace.
Dude, I'm sick of people putting S at the end of my name.
Kisses and Sparkles is not his name, you guys. It's Kisses and Sparkle. Singular sparkle, multiple
All right.
kisses.
All right.
All right.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.